powerful voices tackling the issues that affect us all. So let's get started with The Source.
Afternoon and happy Monday. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. If you are hearing the sound of my voice, I am your host, Andrea Lawful Sanders, and I am on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays from 1 to 4 p.m. Listen, it's the beginning of a new week. I missed you guys last Thursday. You have been calling my phone, inboxing me. Mother did not fall off the face of the earth. I had some work to do, and so I had to take the day off. But I'm glad to know that you all, were making sure that I was okay. It was funny. I was in another meeting and my phone just kept buzzing. So I appreciate you, WURD listeners. I am here. But always, when you don't see me, I am in the background making sure that work gets done on behalf of the constituency, because it's just not enough for me to be on the air and report the news, right? Which we do all the time. But there's some other things that are happening. So how have you guys been? It's Monday. It's colder than all get out outside. And we have, since the inauguration, see, I have my pearls on today because I've not been on since we had the inauguration proclamation with our new president-elect Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. So this week on the air, I am going to have one of my sisters from Jamaica, literally my birth sister, my blood sister, she's third in line, that's going to be on with me on Thursday to talk about Kamala Harris and her father and the relationship that they don't have at this point. We decided as a group, because the Jamaicans have been talking about it, that there's a cultural part to this that a lot of people don't understand. We see what's written in the news, but we don't really see beyond what we see on paper. So we're going to dissect that. And it's not just Jamaica, it's from different cultures. When I talked to Nia Mal on Thursday from Life Around the Diaspora, she and I will dissect that too, because the same thing happens to her as a South Sudanese, not yet married. And so they're saying that, her bride price is going down. And we assume that when people are from other countries and they live here in America, that some things, we adapt. And we do. We adapt, right? But we still have that culture that we don't want to be rid of it, and it's still a part of us, and so we have to figure out ways to blend it and marinate it. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. Last night, Christopher Norris, I tell you, he gets me into all kinds of things. I am on Clubhouse, and he invited me to have a conversation with him and Dr. Juwan Williams, who was at Temple University as an adjunct professor. I believe he's an adjunct because he's still in school there. to talk about vaccinations and whether it's safe to open schools. And the impetus for that conversation was an article that had everyone abuzz on Facebook, written by WHYY. Miles Bryan wrote it on January 22nd, and it says, "CHOP doctor endorsed return to in-person school in the Philly area." I'm going to delve into that, and we'll talk a little bit more. So, one of the Philadelphia's most prominent experts on how to handle schooling during the pandemic said Friday that going to school may actually reduce a child's risk of catching the coronavirus. Dr. Susan Coffin is a professor of infectious diseases at the University of Pennsylvania and a doctor at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. Her remarks came during a virtual roundtable hosted by CHOP's Policy Lab on what to expect for the remainder of the school year. "Schools may be little islands of safety," Coffin said, "where the people who gather, if they gather in good conscience and committed to safety plans, can go back about their day as safely as the community, but even more safely." That claim was supported by data she reviewed, Coffin said, and by the experience of Rhode Island, which bucked the example of most northeastern states by beginning the school year with most students in classrooms and staying the course as community transmission has risen. And so she used the Rhode Island data, and she said that their data show that students in distance learning have been testing positive for COVID at higher rates than those in the school system, and blah, 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 blah. And so it set off a firestorm, and here's why it did that. You know, as this doctor is talking about this in a forum, we have Dr. Anthony Fauci, who is the director of the National Institute of Health, saying that the virus is continuing to go out of control. They don't have enough vaccines, and they're not quite sure where to go with it. Added to that is that the Philadelphia School District, which is where CHOP resides, have a series of issues of their own, right, that are unique to urban environments. Before there was coronavirus, we had bathrooms that didn't have tissues in them, old buildings that were not working properly, that had asbestos in them. Students were not getting the kind of education that they needed. And I would dare say, from the conversation we were having on Clubhouse last night, people from around the country were a part of the conversation. We had conversations with teachers, one from Texas who said she currently had coronavirus, and she actively, you could hear her, she could hardly breathe. But in Texas, she was told that if she didn't do her work, so she had to teach while she was home in bed suffering from coronavirus. Craziest thing ever. Another woman whose son came on from Atlanta, Georgia, who said that his mother, even though they have all these underlying conditions and they continue to test positive for COVID, and some of them are dying, that they're being penalized by the school system to show up for work anyway, right? So let me bring it back to the Philadelphia School District and the myriad of issues that are in place. Folks are saying a 9-year-old girl died, and I'm going to talk about that. There was a statement from the Home and School Association that was sent to us here. And as a direct result, people are saying that children are not safe at home, so they're safer at school, and they can't get a meal at home, and so it's easier for them to get a meal at school. If that is a linchpin that we're using to reopen schools in the middle of a pandemic, Dr. Fauci, they can't say it enough. We are literally in a situation, as Black people would say, right? And so we can't even find ways to tamper down on the one that we're already in, with 25 million people infected and almost 500,000 people dead. And the fact that children themselves are beginning to die from the virus. I think we have to come on one accord around what we should do as it applies to school. I know personally that there are school districts in the suburbs especially who happen to have more supplies and more funding and more everything else to keep their schools clean and to keep them ventilated, have reopened elementary schools, and even then letters are going out saying we have to close this school or we have to close that school because there's been an outbreak there. So there is no real safe way to do it under the best of circumstances. When you put it in a school district like Philadelphia, where they're struggling just to maintain the basic needs in many places, where students and families can't get what they need, and the school district doesn't have enough funding to open schools safely, and the fact that the teachers need to be vaccinated, who are often feeling like they're left out in the cold, they want to get the vaccinations and can't have access to it, we have a problem. right? And so I want to make sure that when we talk about these things, that we talk about them responsibly. It would have been nice if we had used data from what was going on right here today, because it then opens up people's minds that things can change and things change quickly, and that is not so. It is not so. I added to all of that conversation that was happening on social media and on Clubhouse last night from around the country about vaccinations and reopening schools right now, which is just not safe in my humble estimation, was Dr. Ayla Stanford, who was on MSNBC, and my mouth dropped to the floor when, and I can't remember his name now, I'm looking at him. He lives here in the tri-state area in Philadelphia. He's on MSNBC. He put her on camera and she says, I need more supplies. I need more help. I am using my own bank account to make sure that we're able to help people to get them vaccinated. And she said we need more funding. She said the Black Doctors COVID-19 are the group, the premier group, the first one that came out and started helping Black and brown people when everybody else was ignoring them and turning them away. And so because they're trusted now as an entity, people want to come to them to get their vaccines if they're going to get vaccines at all. And given the fact that so many people still feel have such misgivings about the vaccines, wouldn't it make sense to fund the person or fund the group, the woman and her group, that's really out here making sure that people are able to get vaccinated? She's literally saving lives of those who want to get vaccinated because they don't trust anybody else. So you could open up a mobile clinic and a whatever else and a whatever else. If she is the one that Black and brown people are trusting, then I would say find the funding and make sure that it gets in her hands. It is embarrassing to have to see her on national television looking sad and just worn out because they need more vaccines. She needs funding. She needs more help. And we're sitting here in a city where she has literally been one of the premier voices in making sure that we continue to not die, that our numbers come down. People trusted her so they could come and get their COVID testing. They trusted her because she was telling them what to do. And in fact, before anybody else in the city came out and talked about COVID-19, Dr. Ayla was on this show on WURD talking about the fact that we needed to wear masks and that this was going to be a problem even long before anybody at the national and the federal level was talking about masks. So we have to really pay attention, right? And if we say we want to help the people, she also said that she was getting support from regular folks like, you know, you and I, who would donate to the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium. But it's criminal, I think, to let someone like that, who has been at the forefront making sure that people get what they need, don't have what she needs to continue to supply the folks that are here. People are scrambling all over the place, right? And if we want to do what is right for the citizens of this city, then I'm going to suggest that we get up and do something better. I'm going to take Jay. I believe Jay is on. Jay, are you there? West Philly?
I am.
How are you?
I am well, thank you. I have just a couple things I wanted to mention. Kudos for getting information regarding Kamala and her dad on. I'm looking forward to that. But there's two things I wanted to talk about. One is Joe Biden, I think, is doing a fantastic job. I mean, you know, he's only been there less than a week, and you can see the things and the efforts that he's making to do right and to do well. And I just ask that the naysayers, everyone who is saying, well, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this, give him a chance. It is coming. And I believe a new day is about to happen.
We have naysayers already, Jay?
Absolutely. You know, people are saying, well, he promised to do this, and I don't see this, and I want $3,500 instead of $2,000, and where's my reparation, and where's he with gun violence and police brutality? I mean, it's less than a week, and I believe he's going to handle all of these things. But not only do he have us as a people riding his back, but he has Congress, he has QAnon, all of these different entities just pulling him in all different ways. He's one man. They're one administration. He has a lot of untying and detangling to do. Let him do his job. And while he's doing his job, these naysayers and everyone, there is black on black crime out there. You want to do something, do your part. You know, go out there on the streets and, you know, fight to this gun violence and everything that's going on. Work in your own house, and together with him and us, we can make a change. The second thing I wanted to say was there was Michael Kors. He had on his show yesterday, speaking of Juneteenth, and that there was a memo that was supposed to have gone around in the city hall or the city employees stating that they were going to take Juneteenth off the calendar as a legal holiday. And there's supposed to be a petition going around. And, you know, this has been out since at least Friday. Only 4 people signed that petition so far. And, you know, that's another thing that, you know, worrying about what Biden and Kamala is doing. Do your part. You should be signing that petition. That petition should be so full that, you know, they're hollering for us to stop. You know, we got the message, you know. But Michael Kors has stated that, you know, they want to take Juneteenth away because, and they want to reinstitute Columbus Day, saying that since they took the Rizzo Station.
Who do you know who? Because that was sent to me. That was sent to me. They want to reinstate Columbus Day.
Yes, Columbus Day was an optional holiday. You could either take Columbus Day or Veterans Day off, one or the other. But they're saying now that Columbus and Veterans Day will be an option for people. And in order to do that, they removing Juneteenth from the calendar, the city calendar. And
so let me see this.
Yeah.
Well. You know what? I can't.
And these are the things that we should be fighting. Let Biden and Kamala do what they're going to do.
Right.
You know, we already know what they're going to do. Let us take care of our backyard, our home, our interests, you know, here in the city of Philadelphia. And, you know, you want to do something, you want change to happen, well, you know, make it happen. You know, sign the petition. Michael Kors had left a telephone number where, you know, you can contact him. And there was another email address. I didn't get the email address, but I can give your producer the telephone number after I hang up.
Could you please?
Yeah. All
right. Thank you so much, Ms. J. I really appreciate it. So here's the piece here. It was published with WHYY.org, and it originally appeared in the Philadelphia Tribune. Juneteenth is no longer listed as an official city holiday. This comes after Mayor Jim Kenney used a one-time executive action in 2020 to designate the June 19th celebration commemorating the abolition of slavery in the U.S. an official city holiday for the first time. City employees will not receive comp or administrative leave time for Juneteenth, which falls on a Saturday this year. Jim Engler, Kenney's chief of staff, said the administration was negotiating with the city's 4 major labor unions to include Juneteenth among other observed holidays in their collective bargaining agreements going forward. So he hasn't ruled out using another executive action. So he's been using an executive action to make it a holiday, and they really need to put it into law. Interesting. It's
The other thing they want to do is, you know, make it just a regular holiday instead of a national holiday. Columbus Day is a national holiday where it's observed on a Monday or a Friday. You know, ours is celebrated on a weekend. Let us also, you know, make that a national holiday.
Okay.
You know? Okay. But God's blessings on you. I just wanted to get that out there.
Thank you, my sister. I really appreciate you. I have to figure out. So, Michael, either you or Brianna, can you see where we can go to get the information for the petition where folks can sign? I don't see it here on this article that I am reading that was sent to me. But thank you so much, Ms. J. I appreciate you, okay?
You're very welcome. God bless.
God bless you, too. Whew, you are listening to the source. I'm telling you, if it's not one thing, it's 4, right? And so we are literally speaking on the news about the things that apply to us and how it impacts us in this city and beyond. And education. The conversation yesterday was just unbelievable. I had young people in their 30s talking about the fact that we need to reimagine what education should look like, that we don't want to go back to the same old thing because the same old thing was not helping all the students, just some of the students, and too many children were falling between the cracks, right? And so if we're using school as the place to open just to feed children or to make sure that they stay safe, and so it's about our community, what's going on in our communities, and how are we making education the premier thing for our students, that it is a right, a basic right for them. Lord, this city is not ready. The city is not ready. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Just one more step. You got it.
You're doing great. This is the sound of a nationally ranked top rehabilitation hospital, home to the largest collection of robotics in the United States, where we continually exceed patient expectations, because no injury is too severe or too minor for our care.
There you go.
This is the sound of success. Moss Rehab. Challenge accepted.
Morning, Mama. How you feeling?
Great, and I'm ready for you today.
I'm checking in on ya. Morning meditation?
Check.
Dressed and ready to work out?
Check.
Check your blood pressure yet?
And check.
Boom! Great job, Mom. And about those gold earrings?
No, ma'am.
Now more than ever, it's important that we protect our hearts and the hearts of those we love. Monitor your blood pressure daily and help each other stay motivated. Rally your squad to take the online pledge at releasethepressure.org. Brought to you by the Release the Pressure Coalition and the Ad Council.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, happy Monday. We're covering the news, and the last thing we spoke about was the fact that, excuse me, I had to get my teeth. A little hectic in my house today. We just spoke of the CHOP doctor who said that it should be good to reopen schools, and it's creating a firestorm amongst teachers and students in the Philadelphia School District in particular, and really around the country. Folks are in the new app Clubhouse, talking about the fact that, people are just really not thinking long term. And I personally, said when I was in that conversation yesterday that these medical experts need to get on one accord as it applies to what's happening at the federal level, and then figure out how it works within their individual places where they live. If we are talking about the Philadelphia School District, separate and apart from what else is going on in other districts around this Commonwealth, then we know we have a unique set of circumstances here that must be addressed and not whitewashed by data from other places. Seriously. All right, let's see. Who do we have on the line now? Let me just make sure. Dwayne from Southwest, how are you there?
Well, Donna, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, sir?
I'm doing all right.
What's going on?
You know why people so much on Joe Biden's back? Because what happened, you've been letting politicians in there, then they've been turning their backs on us. And that's why I think people are so much rushing Joe Biden.
But Jay, he's not even been in there for a week, Jay.
I didn't hear you.
He's not even been in there for a week.
No, well, I'm just talking about, I'm not saying he ain't going to do more. I think why people are rushing because, all right, now, for example, look at Mayor Kenny. He made a promise he's going to stop and frisk. He didn't do that. See, many of our politicians have been letting all they've been turning their backs on us. That's why I think people are a little skeptical about, about Joe Biden and all of it.
So how much time, let me ask you this, Dwayne. Let me ask you this, Mr. Dwayne. How much time do you think we should give him before we start to go ham?
Well, I think he should, to me, the way I see it, I think he should work on definitely the police reform right away. Because look how police been killing our people left and right and haven't been charged or anything. So I think that'd be the first thing. He should have, the first thing, the virus. Yes, I understand that.
The virus,
should be worked on the police reform.
Police reform,
Because we the ones who get in there. Without us, he wouldn't be in there. He said that.
Right. Yes.
So he sees how cops killing our people left and right.
Yes, he did talk about police reform. But no, he talked about racism and the fact that it has been blatant for too long in our country. Mr.
Right.
Dwayne, I spent 14 hours last Wednesday watching the inauguration from 8 o'clock in the morning till Lord knows what time that night, right? And I took note of a lot of the things that were said. I've never heard so many people talk about racism in my entire life, white folks, right? And dealing with it. And the one thing that stuck out for me with President Joe Biden when he was swearing in the 1,000+ new people that are going to be working in this cabinet in all areas, he said to them, if you are not someone who is willing to do this work, if you are someone who has biases, if you're someone who is, this is not the work for you, he said, because if I find out that you're treating anyone unfairly in my administration, I'm firing you on the spot. That's what he said, right? And so people are starting to really, and they're working on making sure that people who are asking for federal dollars, that their values are aligned with what's happening with black and brown people, because racism and implicit and explicit bias has been an issue for too long, and it's been infected and wrapped around in everything that we say and do, right? So he's doing something. He also talked, Mr. Dwayne, about the student loan, that he stopped that and make sure that they don't have to think about it until October, and that there will be no penalty, so there will be no interest rates from now until October. He has signed executive orders left and right. He signed executive orders to dismiss some of the harmful things that the former president did, and he signed executive orders where he can move around Congress. One of them is to make sure that people get extra money in their pockets, to make sure that the vaccine rollout, because, you know, we were told from the previous administration that the vaccine rollout, that we had plenty of vaccine. Now Joe Biden gets in and they're realizing, Mr. Dwayne, they don't have the vaccine, right? As many as they said they would. So he literally walked into a hornet's nest, right? And so I would say we give him the 100 days. Give him at least the first 100 days to figure out what they are doing. And you're right. I don't think we should take our foot off the pedal. I think we should continue to put the pressure on, right? Because we get these folks in, they make these promises, and then nothing changes. And that's why folks are doing what they're doing. But I say give them at least the first 100 days.
All right.
All right.
And I think one more thing. I think he should have. He gave us like $3,500 because he was $1,400. He's like, he's giving us crumbs.
So wait a minute. So they sent out $600, and he wants to add another $1,400. You think it should be another $1,500 on top of the extra $1,400?
Yes, because what happened, a lot of people had lost their job. And a lot of people had lost a lot of money, can't pay the rent and anything.
Yes.
So I think it should be at least about $3,500. That's my opinion.
Okay. Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Dwayne. You have a good Monday, okay?
All right, you too.
All right, sir. All right, bye-bye. Maurice.
I'm here.
How are you, sir?
And I'm mad.
Why are you mad?
I'm mad because I'm here. Now, let me tell you what's going on here, okay? I knew that Juneteenth was a farce when they did it, because the only reason that the mayor is a very smart man. Do not underestimate him. He put that out there to stop the people that when they were riding around 52nd Street. As soon as he said that Juneteenth was a holiday, the riot stopped immediately. And then I don't know why people got so happy for it, because it doesn't matter who else celebrates it. As long as black folks celebrate it, that's all should count. And we should say, hey, listen, I don't care if you give us the day off or not. We're not coming to work. And that's the end of it. And then once they see that we working forced like that, they be like, well, it ain't going to come anyway, so we might as well pay them and treat it like a regular holiday. But we always begging. We always want somebody to give us something.
So what happens when people take off the day? I'm not mad at you, right? I am not mad at you. What happens when people, though, take off the day and they get fired?
No, see, you got to be smart. We know what it is before the beginning of the year. You schedule your day. You save your sick days. You schedule your days off.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You got to be smart on what you do.
Yes.
Like when we went to the Million Man March, when I worked for the prison system, what we did was we all called the blue flu that day.
What is the blue flu?
When you say everybody's sick.
Okay.
And then they have to check it out. See, a lot of people don't know. We took 30 white guards with us.
Oh.
To the Million Man March.
Okay.
So, see, so it wasn't just all black men there.
Yes.
It was a lot of Latinos. It was a lot of women there. See, people don't understand when they see everybody wants to make anything the blanket, but this is what I really called you about. You know, about the murders and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Did
Yeah.
you know?
What happened to the 9-year-old? I mean, So let me just say this, Maurice. I can't. The news hurts my heart so much. Sometimes I miss these things, but it's a death after death after death. Where was it? If this 9-year-old was homeschooling, where was she that she got shot? Do you know?
She was home.
In her house. So a bullet went into her house.
Are we talking about the same one where the father is being charged for it?
No, I don't know because I didn't see it.
What happened was one child shot the other. He left. He wasn't supposed to have guns, but he had guns in the house. And he left them where they could get them. You know, you can't hide them from a kid. If you got a gun, this is from a gun owner, and I'm half blind, and I still got guns. But if you got children, you have to have a gun safe. Not under the closet, not behind your magazines, not inside the toilet bowl. No, because kids go everywhere in your house, everywhere. And that's a fact. But what I really called you about was about the camera system that we have here in Philadelphia.
Okay.
Now, you know, we have one of the best camera systems in the country that was put in years ago. And City Council member Jones is in control of that. They're not using it on black cases. That's the problem. You know, once the white boy got shot up, which they call Brewery Town, but it's always going to be North Philly to me, okay? They zoomed in on the guy's sneaker. They was able to see that the assailants rifled his pockets. All this is on film. But when it's a black case, look, they still, the other day, was still talking about the white guy. Now, I have sympathy for him, don't get me wrong. But what I'm saying is when somebody black get killed, we don't hear no backstory. We don't hear about them getting married. We don't hear about children. We don't hear, all we hear is about bodies.
Yeah, I hear that. I was talking about that just last week.
Now, can you please get the commissioner on your show, please?
Listen, I've been working with Brianna, and I don't know if I told Brianna to call the commissioner's office, but Brianna, if you're listening, because I know you are, we really do need to get the commissioner of police.
I forgot. I'm sorry. You're black. Remember George.
You know what? Goodbye, Maurice. I'm not today. It's 1:30. I'm not doing this with you so early in the afternoon. Love you, man. Talk to you soon. All right. So, couple of things. The information for Juneteenth, and I believe Michael put it on here. He did. 215-552-8751. Again, if you want to you want to call in to get people to keep Juneteenth as a holiday, the phone number is 215-552-8751. And also, Keturah, time sensitive, tomorrow evening, Tuesday, January 26th, free. 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time, Standard Time. The Enterprise Center is holding a webinar on opening a restaurant. It is free to attend. There's a link here, eventbrite.com. So, yeah, I'm excited. So, again, tomorrow, free webinar on how to open a restaurant that is being hosted by the Enterprise Center. And so if you're on social media, there's a link there. I don't know how to it's hard to convey a link to people who are not online but are listening on the air. I don't have access to getting online right now. But if you go to WURD TV on Facebook, you'll see the link in there. Okay, thank you, Keturah. I really appreciate it. All right, let's see. Now, moving on to, who else is on? Jacob. Jacob, sir, how are you?
All right, how you doing, my sister?
I'm okay. What's going on, sir?
Well, we missed you last week, but let me say your show was in good hands with Sister
Tiffany Bacon. Yes.
Yeah, you and her, y'all about some of the hardest working women in radio.
That's
y'all
what
get
I'm
the job
talking
done.
about.
But you know, I hear you talking about the Juneteenth thing, right? And I'm like other people. We got to demand what we want. They didn't just give us Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King's holiday. We had to lobby for it, fight for it, and let them know that we wasn't going to be satisfied until we got it, you know. And the fact that they put Columbus Day back in there, well, okay, that's cool. I ain't mad at them because I mean, Italian people, whether we think that Columbus was a bum or not, which he was, but I'm not going to ask Italian people not to be proud of him. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's one thing about this America. Everybody, like when I've been down at when the Jamaicans have their thing, their festival, right? And you got Jamaican pride, right?
Yes.
We got, I mean, every Puerto Rican, everybody has their thing that shows that. And I can't ask for a Puerto Rican not to feel proud. I rode through the neighborhood last year when they was having Puerto Rican Day in the where the Puerto Ricans were. My God, you would have thought that. And I understood. I said, well, what's going on? And I asked one of them. They said, oh, yeah, it's Puerto, you know. And they didn't wait. They ain't waiting for nobody to recognize what they see as something. You know what I'm saying? So, but that petition is a good thing. But now going back to what I think President Biden should get on, and that's some of this gun reform, right, where we know why the QAnon people are not going to, you know, they let the NRA, oh, they'll never take my guns. And remember Charleston Heston Moses, over my dead body, well, you know. And we understand why they want their guns, because they think black people are going to come after them and kill them for what they did to us for 400 years. You know what I mean? So they running scared. You know what I mean? But crazy people should not be allowed to buy guns. And I guess if you put it like that, half of the QAnon wouldn't be able to get guns. So I see why they're, because, I mean, some of the theories they're coming up with is just, you got to be, there's something wrong with your brain.
So, Jacob, let me tell you something. So the other day I was listening to a radio station, a conservative radio station, because my husband makes sure that we listen to both of them, right? Excuse me. Excuse me, conservative TV and conservative radio. Excuse me, y'all. Allergies are taking me over in here. And someone they said in QAnon, now I want you all to hear this, that they fully expected on the day of the inauguration that the military was going to go up the steps and sweep Joe Biden out and continue to let the Donald Trump be president. There were also some people who said in that same group that Donald Trump is still president. He just has Joe Biden's face and everybody else is fooled except them. And when you have that level of cognitive dissonance, right? When you have that level of believing all the things that have been fed to you. And in fact, the one guy that I was watching on MSNBC, because they were interviewing them, they're reporters that are logged in to their places. You know, wherever they go, their websites, the places that they visit. The one guy that was a QAnon believer, he said, listen, we only hear from Q at certain times, and we only move when Q tells us to move. They don't even know who Q is. Right?
Yeah.
Trying to tell you.
Yeah, you know that where they're coming from is not really, it's not commonsensical. And we got to, I guess, say a prayer for them people until they can come around, because they have already drank that Kool-Aid.
They did, and there's nothing you can do to change their mind. So, knowing what we know, Jacob, what should we be doing as a people? Knowing what we know, I'm asking you this.
Well, we should be doing just what we got to do, and that's what they call it, surrounding our wagons, and taking care of our hoods and our people, and making sure that, because everybody looks out for themselves. You know, you got the Italians, they look out for themselves. You got the Irish people, everybody. It's not a problem. We got to start looking out for ourselves, and not like somebody said, we ain't going to beg for nothing, because we pay more taxes than anybody else. We pay more taxes than Amazon and them rich people, right? So we don't have anything to bow our heads and feel shameful about. We have to start again. One of the presidents years ago, I don't know if it was Truman or Roosevelt, he brought one of the black leaders to the White House, and he told him, make me do what you want me to do. In other words, y'all got to make me do this, because you know what I'm against, and it was white supremacy then. So you move it, but make me give you your rights. I think that's what he was saying. And that's what we got. First of all, if we know our rights, then we can be better off. So we in good shape if you because we're getting woke now. People are waking up.
Yeah, boy.
And
Yes,
that's
Lord.
a blessing. That's an anointing from Almighty. You know what I mean? So when you see that happening, the least of us being woke, then that means it's on and popping.
Yep.
And ain't no stopping us now. But thank you, sister. I'm glad you're back.
Thank you, honey. Thank you. It's always good to be heard and seen. Talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.
All right. I'm going to take the next caller when I come back from a quick break. So hold on one second, Cornell. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Coping-19, brought to you by CDC and the Ad Council.
With everything going on, there may be times you feel like you can't handle it all. Journaling, meditating, and talking with friends and family can help you feel more grounded and better able to cope. Your kids are also going through a lot of new experiences, and simply talking with them about their feelings can be quite powerful.
Find more self-care and coping tips at coping-19.org.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, we're just talking to WURD listeners and talking about the fact that we have a brand new president and that we just really don't want to be, according to some of the WURD listeners, they don't want to be patient with Joe Biden. They really want what they want now. And so this is why knowing the process and how the system works and making sure that you understand that all elections are local. You start voting for the folks in your Senate and your House and all those things within your state level, then you'll be able to have more control at the federal level on the things that we need to get done. I do believe they passed the George Floyd Act in Congress last summer when all of this stuff was going on, and it has a lot of teeth in it to make sure that police officers are held responsible, and it went to the Senate and was hung up there. Now that we have quote-unquote control of the Senate, where it's 50-50 and Vice President Kamala Harris is the tiebreaker, we'll be able to get some of those things to go through. But the thing that is most concerning to them right now is coronavirus and how uncontrolled it is. And Dr. Fauci just talking about the crazy things that were happening with him and with the folks as they were trying to tell people. Even the CDC was shut down by the former president of the United States. So it's a lot. They're trying to unravel a lot of damage. And at the same time, on the other side, making sure that they move things along so that people can stop suffering as much as we have been. Cornell from North Philly, are you there?
Yes. Ms. Sanders,
how are you? Yes.
I'm okay. I'm going to make this quick. Are you listening?
I'm listening, sir.
When are we going to have the mayor and the police commissioner come on this show and talk about the murders? And,
you want them specifically on my show, sir?
Well, not just
or you just want
show,
them on WURD? Or you want them on WURD radio?
Yeah, or other shows, but right now I'm just calling your show because I like listening to you.
Okay.
I like listening to you talk about that the Jamaican goat, the goat meat, and the macaroni and cheese.
We don't eat macaroni and cheese, sir. We don't eat macaroni. Jamaicans don't mess around with macaroni and cheese. We sell it in the restaurants because Americans love it. So we bring you in for the Jamaican food and we keep you with the American food. But we don't mess around with macaroni and cheese.
Okay, but listen, I would like to have the mayor and the police commissioner come on your show or some of the other shows talking about the murders. Because, you know, it doesn't matter what color you are.
Yeah. I'm also working on the Larry Krasner, District Attorney Larry Krasner, too, to come on the show. He should be coming on.
Because I used to be in a gang years ago. But we had respect for women, and we had respect for children. And and we got in trouble, but we had respect. But now it's like everybody's getting killed, and it's scary.
What do you think should happen? What do you think, so let's just say for the sake of argument, I get the mayor or the police commissioner on. If all things are equal, I get them both on at the same time, right? I was in a conversation last week and with a bunch of people, and one of them said to me, "You are incredibly fair," and I am. I get people on here. I do my research. I ask the questions. My goal is not to rip people's larynx out, but to ask them the questions that people want to hear the answers to, right? Well, whether they give it or not, it's totally up to them. But we can't soft shoe what's going on, and it all, it's between the children. Lord, man, there's so much going on. So much going on.
Yeah,
and it looks
I'm going to let you go. But I just want to say, if I could ask them a question and say, we got to do something about the challenge. And so, I know police can't do everything.
Right.
And, we know that police can't be everywhere and it's up to everybody, but it's something. I can't understand. It's something, something gotta change. I'll call you back, Miss Sanders.
All right, sir. Take it easy, all right? Always a pleasure. All right, Bruce, are you there?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right. Y'all just mentioned Larry Krasner, and I remember back in 1989, he was my public defender. He was just starting out. He was only a public defender. I had gotten into some trouble, and he was my public defender. And I didn't move on with my life. I didn't just retire from the city workforce last year. But y'all mentioned his name, and I said, wow, I keep forgetting that this man was a public defender years ago. But, we do all this marching, and I don't mean to be a pessimist. I'm usually an optimistic person. But we doing all of these marches, and the Million Man March, and the Woman March, and we marching from, and we marching till our feet fall off, but it seems like it's even more murders. And do I have a solution? I have a half a solution, because when we ask to get a holiday on the calendar, and this is just my opinion, don't make it right, but we already have Martin Luther King, we got Black History Month, but we shouldn't need to be validated, and I know probably that's not what people are thinking anyway, but it seems like we need to be validated through somebody else to determine, to validate who we are as a people. If God says who we are, and we know who we are because God said that we're more than conquerors, so I don't need nobody to give me something to make me feel like I'm somebody. And we should stop worrying about these different races, because we all belong to the human race. So Bruce, we can stop looking for other people to do things for us.
Right. Okay. All right. So Bruce, let me ask you this. Just hang on with Mother for a second, okay? Is that all right?
Say what?
Just hang on with me for a second. Is that all right?
Of course.
Okay. So this country has had a history of inequities for Black and brown people. Would you agree or disagree with me that Black and brown people are have been so traumatized in this country? All we just want is a little bit of equity. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So if it's a holiday, if it's fair wages, if it's schools that are working, I don't know. So let me just apologize to the WURD listeners and you, Bruce. There's work being done on the basement of my house, and the more they work and hammer, I hope you can't hear them through my microphones and my eardrums, but the more they work and hammer, the more I'm coughing. So I don't know what they're rustling up down there. But, when we don't, when education is not on par with everywhere else, when we're told that we shouldn't get the money because our children don't deserve better, when those young people graduate from school, from the K-12 system, and don't have hope of getting a job, and someone say to them, because we've had, I don't know if you heard this, but we've had here in the city young people who are contracted as killers to make money, right? And one young person in their 20s, I had D.A. Krasner on talking about it some months ago, in his 20s was contracted and ended up killing a community leader's son. Right? So people are taking money for contract killings. This is insane. And so this is what happens. This is what I'm saying. It's not just the killing in Philadelphia. It's all the things that led up to it. It's the not having a decent place to live, good running water, electricity. I'm talking about basic rights in a country that is one of the wealthiest in the world, right? So you don't have that in this city. Lots of students, you know, and the Philadelphia School District children have got to be the most resilient bunch I have ever laid eyes on, because despite what is thrown their way, they've somehow managed, a good majority of them, to shine brightly and come out and do amazing things. But it shouldn't just be for some. Many more of those students need an opportunity, and the ones that are not getting opportunities, as Tupac says, if you're eating steak and I'm looking at you day after day after day, and I'm knocking on the gate and telling you that I'm hungry, and you ignore me, and I knock a little harder and you ignore me, at some point I'm going to break the gate down, right? And so that's what you're seeing with all the murders that are continually taking place in this city. It goes beyond the police department. Yes, everybody has to be culpable and find their way in some way to make it. It goes even beyond the mayor's office. It literally is all the leaders in this city to sit down and say, let's get back to the basics. We can't keep trying to put Band-Aids, I don't think, on the murders when there are a litany of other things coming behind that's causing people to go out here and be murderers. You know, I love it when people call in here and say things like, well, you know, if they would just do the right things and you know, stop all the fighting and the killing. But until you have been struggling and can't figure out a way to make ends meet, and you're watching your mother pass out because she's working 4 jobs and you still don't have a place to live, and you're homeless, and you can't go to school, and on and on and on. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah, but see, because I've been homeless. I lived in the subways. I lived in suburban station. I lived in a tractor downtown in 8-degree weather when Lit Brothers was being turned over. So I've been there. So, because faith without works is dead. So we have to believe that we within our own self that we can do something, because I came from nothing, from the streets. And so, but I had to will myself. I had to do what God told me to do to get to it. I couldn't depend on nobody. I had to do it myself.
I hear you, my brother. I hear you.
I've been there. I've been there in the gutter. I've been there in the gutter, and I had to make my mind up. Matter of fact, it was only until I spent a whole year in jail, God sat me down and said, okay, I'm going to give you a chance to have a clear mind and make your decision. And that's what he did. And so when I came out of jail, I made a choice to turn around and go the other way. And I did the work.
Agreed. It's so good talking to you, my brother. You have a good one, okay?
You too. Thanks a lot.
Oh, you're so welcome. Prince, I know you're on the line. I'm just going to take a quick break and then come back and talk to you so we can chat uninterrupted. In the meantime, Laura asked, she said, what is the situation in Philly with the vaccine? It's not really addressed on the local news. Laura, I can't talk about everybody that's supposed to be giving out vaccines. I can talk about the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium with Dr. Ayla Stanford. She went on MSNBC, and I'm looking at the man of color that's on Sundays, because I watched her yesterday when she was saying that, you know, her group needs more funding. They need more people. They need more bodies to help them. You know, as they're putting the vaccines into the needles, they need people to man the places where they are, because it's a huge operation. I was down there last week getting vaccinated, and it is a big deal, right? And she says she needs more funding. So we want to make sure that this woman and her group are able to get what they need so they can continue to vaccinate people. Now, you see what's happening around the country. They're saying that there's a shortage of vaccines everywhere. And so we just want to have to kind of hold on and see, what does that mean for Philadelphia? What are we getting, you know, and not just Philadelphia, but the state of Pennsylvania? What are we getting so that we can vaccinate as many people as possible, those who want to be vaccinated? Because there's still plenty of people who don't want to. So I don't know, sis. A friend of mine was going to get vaccinated with her husband yesterday, not in Philadelphia, in the county, and on their way there, they got a call that they need to go back home because the vaccines were in short supply, and so they would not be able to vaccinate them after all. New York is in dire straits, so it's just about everywhere that we go. So we just hold on and see what's going on there, all right? And as I know, I'll let you know. I reached out to Dr. Ayla, but I suspect that, you know, she doesn't just talk about vaccines happening at these different locations. Every time you show up at one of those locations, Dr. Ayla is front and center. She's front and center. How you can help, reach out to the city government, Laura, and tell them to fund the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium, because she did say on MSNBC she's using her own bank account now to do this, and with the donations from people in the community. If you want to donate, go to Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium on their email and hit the donate button. If you want to be able to help, do it that way. But, you know, none of this is costing us, the average citizen, a penny, not a penny. And so when someone is putting out their hard work and struggling like this on behalf of the love that they have for people, we got to step up to the plate and make sure they have what they need. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Are you tired of eating the same thing day after day? Is ordering takeout starting to get a little old? If so, then give Premium Nutrition Meals a try. With Premium Nutrition Meals, you get to select new entrees each week from several different menus, all chef-crafted, freshly prepared, and delivered right to your door. Just go to PremiumNutritionMeals.com to order to earn rewards today. WURD listeners receive $10 off orders of 6 meals or more. Enter code PREMIUMWURD at checkout.
Keeping you informed. As a community service, WURD Radio and the Black Doctors COVID-19 Consortium wants to keep you informed about where you can get no-cost, barrier-free COVID-19 testing this week. Monday, January 25th from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. at SEPTA Suburban Station, 16th and JFK Boulevard. Tuesday, January 26th from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Esperanza Health Center, 4417 North 6th Street. And Thursday, January 28th from 3 p.m. till 7 p.m. at Mastery Charter School Cleveland Campus, 3701 North 19th Street. Stay informed and stay well with WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD. Lifting every voice till earth and heaven ring. This is WURD Radio. 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Black Talk Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. Before we take our very first guest, author of Spy in the Struggle, Aya de Leon, I want to get Prince on the line. Let me talk to him, and then we'll move into our guest. Prince, are you there?
I am. Good afternoon. Glad to have you back.
You all are terrible.
Hey, you know, I think that of all the times that we protest, I don't know where we would protest, but I think there should be a protest, because if we got 499 murders and it took you 36 hours to solve a murder of a white kid who got killed in the city, then that's worth marching for. Like, where are these young people at, the millennials and stuff like that? That is because there's no way that you can tell me that only police officers or police officer kids or police officer mothers or white kids get solved, murders get solved in 36 to 24 hours. That's unacceptable, you know. You've not heard one politician at all come out and say anything remotely about the 499 murders. You know,
what do you think is happening there, though, Prince? Because I noticed that, too. That was so glaringly obvious. Not only did they solve the murder of the young white man, God rest his soul, at 25 years old, that got shot and killed, they carried the news cycle, carried it for over a week. Right? One life. The mother was, you know, and the mother should, rightly so, want to find out what happened to her son. But where's the justice for all the other young people who lost their lives? Where's the justice for the little 9-year-old that lost her life in her house last week? Where's the justice?
So here's my question. So when the male got killed, you seen President Darrell Clark talk about guns. He was on the news talking about guns. You had this massive buyback, but nothing happened when the little kid just got shot. You know, and so we we have to restructure our understanding of our politicians and what they care for. And another thing, so let's get this clear so everybody can stop functioning in a way where they think that the city is just a checkbook. The city's a nonprofit, the housing authorities are nonprofit, the school districts are nonprofit, and unions are a nonprofit. And so when you have all these nonprofits It's a collective approach. That's why you have collective bargaining agreements.
Yes.
It's a collective approach on how to spend the resources, because if you don't spend all of the resources, it goes back. And so you supposed to, the school district is supposed to say, do I have which could be perceived as billable hours or hours of apprentice? Well, there's not a school in this city that doesn't need repair.
Right.
Okay? So what you do is you take the union people, you put them in the schools, let them get apprentice hours, let them be overseen by journeymen, which doesn't cost you anything, but your line item will allow you to buy materials. And so the same issue I have with Dr. Hike not understanding the collective bargaining agreement is the same issue that I have with the police commissioner not understanding the collective bargaining agreement, because she came from a place where they got 700 police officers to 7,000 police officers. That means the intricacies of details is 100 times more than where she come from. And so at the end of the day, if you're going to pay somebody, if I'm going to pay you this amount of money, I need tangible results. If I'm not getting those results, then I have hosts on talk shows or people who host radio shows asking a fundamental question. Where's the accountability at?
Yes.
Why am I
We talked about that on the app Clubhouse last night, that a 35-year-old gentleman named Mike came on. He was so profound. I was so excited. He said it's literally watching the very few people in the city negotiate away the lives of the black and brown students. You know, there is just no emergency. There's no importance leveled at what should happen on behalf of the families that live here in this city. And yet we take those votes for granted. And yet we get up and we tell people, you know, you should come out and vote for me. And that's why I'm encouraging everybody. Listen, it's beyond voting. Keep holding people's feet to the fire. Beyond voting, have a report card. What have you done since you got into office? Are you running for office, getting a local office, and then before you even get your feet wet and you have done nothing for your constituents, you want to run for a higher office at the federal level? We see you. We absolutely see you. So where do we go from here with all of this?
Well, here's the thing. So some of our own people who look like us have learned the system of privatizing us. What does that mean? That means that these people, somebody told them that the quickest way to get your name out there is to give out this free food, these food deserts, and give out these free food to people and have them line up like pigeons outside feeding them and stuff like that. And so you're not giving them anything tangible for longevity, nothing economic, but you'll give them a box or a bag of food. And so, so these clowns who keep having these food deserts, giving out the same food that they're getting for free under their nonprofit, but they're not helping the community. So if you're seeing all this construction going on in your neighborhood, and let's use Lancaster Avenue for a minute, 38th from Lancaster Avenue, where that old bank was, you see people, elderly and young people, lined up to get food right beside a construction project by Lennox that's $56 million. Wow. And so you mean to tell me I don't have any advocates, I don't have any politicians that say, hey, every young kid between the age of 18 and 40, I need you to get a W-2 so you can go work on this job doing security, watching the perimeter, doing labor work, doing something. But it is just astonishing that none of them have the idea that maybe we should empower these folks that's standing in this line. They're saying, no, I'm doing a good deed. I'm patting myself on the back. You know, I'm photo-opping this. I'm posting it. You clowns. Because at the end of the day, you can see the person, but if they can't feed themselves, then they're gonna be hungry the next day. And when you're not there at that bank giving out this food because the Dutch or the Amish decided they wasn't going to drop off a truck anymore, now you left us just as paralyzed as we were before you showed up.
Yes.
And I'm going to hang up and listen to you, and thanks for taking my call.
Thank you, Prince. Always a pleasure talking to you. Always. Prince made a great point, right? Who does it serve to keep bringing food into the community and dropping food at the hands of people who need it instead of giving them the tools to learn how to collect food for themselves? Who gains from that? Interesting question, right? One we'll delve into as we go on. So let me move on to our very patient guest. Aya De Leon is author of Spy in the Struggle. Aya is a writer, activist, educator, spoken word poet, and author of the award-winning Justice Hustler series. I cannot wait for this. The director of June Jordan's Poetry for the People. She teaches poetry and spoken word at UC Berkeley and is an alumna of Cave Canem, Vona, and Harvard University. She is a winner of the International Latino Book Award and a two-time winner of the Independent Publisher Book Awards, and her extensive writing credits include Guernica Essence. I'm going to make sure I get that one right because the Jamaican accent in me wants to say Guernica and it might not be right. Essence and Ebony, the Huffington Post, Vice, Plowshares, Women's Day, and BITCH magazine. Can't say that on the air because of federal regulations, among other websites and publication. De Leon first came to national attention as a spoken word artist in the underground poetry scene in the San Francisco Bay Area and a hip-hop theater artist. She lives in San Francisco and can be found online. Hi, good afternoon, Aya.
Oh, good afternoon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you loudly and clearly.
I have to say, I have been sitting here listening and just enjoying WURD. I really appreciate the conversation and the questions. You know, where do we go from here?
Yes.
Thinking about, you know, in this post-election time. And, you know, that's really what I've been writing about in A Spy in the Struggle, because where we go from here, we had the election, yay. You know, a lot of the people that we were hoping would win won, yay. You know, but now it's time to dig into those movements. Like you said, hold their feet to the fire. I'm thinking about and writing about movements because voting is good, but voting is not everything.
All right, come on now. See, this is going to be a great conversation now. I don't know if they told you about talking to me, but, you know, I'm all about getting deeply into the nitty-gritty of things to make sure that people understand where we are. So talk to me about The Spy in the Struggle. How did you get into the place where you began writing about this stuff, the social justice work and what's happening around the country?
Absolutely. You know, I come from an activist background and was doing community organizing in my 20s in an African-American organization in Boston. And, you know, we were kind of militant in a lot of the things that we were doing, and we studied the legacy of the Black Panthers. And as part of that study, we looked at how the FBI's counterintelligence program, COINTELPRO, had intentionally worked to destroy that movement.
Yes.
And, you know, they did some very they took some very direct actions, like assassinating leaders. And there's a film coming out soon called Judas and the Black Messiah about the FBI and Chicago police murder of Chairman Fred Hampton of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. So some of that was very direct. But then other things that FBI informants and infiltrators did that was less direct was they would like write a letter from one leader to another if there was tension between them and, you know, disrespect them and say insulting things. And sometimes they could get away with sowing discord because people in the movements did not have good relationship skills, did not know how to do basic conflict resolution, and didn't know always how to talk to each other. And so we concluded in our organization, this was in Boston, Free My People Youth Leadership Movement in Roxbury, we concluded that the best thing that we could do to protect our movement from this kind of attack, if we were to become that effective, was to have strong relationships within the movement. And as a budding writer, at the time, it just sparked my imagination, like, well, what would happen if there was a Black organization where people had strong relationships and the FBI sent somebody to try and infiltrate them? Like, what would happen? And also thinking about unapologetic Blackness, right? Like, what would happen if you had this unapologetically Black organization where people really, you know, loved themselves and loved their people? What would happen if you sent somebody to infiltrate who was apologetically Black, right? Was not loving their Blackness? Is it possible that instead of the infiltrator affecting the organization and the movement, that the movement would affect the infiltrator? And so, you know, for a couple of decades now, I've been chewing on that story, and it was finally published at the end of December by Kensington Books, A Spy in the Struggle. And it's about Yolanda Vance, who is this young black woman in her 20s who has done everything right. You know, she went to Harvard Law School. She got the job in corporate law. She's, you know, headed to living the American dream. And yet she keeps hitting these different setbacks, you know, the corporate law firm she's working for. Yeah,
if you can see me, I'm looking because I swear I have a copy of your book. I swear that a copy of your book was given to me as a gift. It might be sitting at my bedside table. You know, I'm going to read that right after I get off with you, right?
But you know, we try to make it a page turner. So she, you know, she gets her law firm gets raided by the feds because they've participated in securities fraud, and then suddenly, you know, the dream is slipping away. She ends up working for the FBI, and they send her undercover. And so she's kind of this rookie agent going undercover in this black organization, and they tell her, oh, it's an extremist organization. But what does she find? She finds an organization led by a bunch of black teenagers that's fighting for climate justice and as part of the movement for Black Lives. You know, and so what the FBI is telling her that she's doing there doesn't really square with what she's seeing. And we, you know, and the book is about kind of her journey to figure out what's real and what's true.
Wow. So, you know, I just ordered 3 copies of your book, right? I'm sitting here on Amazon just order it because that's the kind of story that I love, that really, and I want teenagers to read it. So
yeah,
I ordered 3 copies.
I will say it's got some grown-up business, okay? So it's also a romance. And, you know, these are grown people doing grown people things. So, you know, consider that.
Would you say high schoolers?
You know, it really depends on the high schooler, right?
Okay.
So I say 18 plus, but I also, you know, nowadays young people are seeing a lot of different kinds of information having to do with sexuality, so it really is case by case. And the other thing that I will say, as far as, you know, if young people do get a hold of this material, you know, that I'm also putting forth a vision of sexuality where women are not just objects, that women are thinking about themselves and thinking about what makes them happy. And so there's definitely, you know, it can be educational in a good way, but I think parents need to know that there's sexually explicit content. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'll make sure that I'm going to read it, have 2 other people read the other copies that I have, and then we'll decide, you know, should we disseminate it and who we should disseminate it to. Because what your book sounds like is The Coldest Winter Ever by Sister Soldier. Remember when that book came out and everybody, that as you're talking to me, all I can see is turning the page. Just
well, it's a fun one. You know, it's a thriller. Like that. Yes. Because I think that that's part of it too, you know. And I have to say, I have so much love for Philly right now because of all the stuff that y'all were doing in terms of Joy to the Polls. I mean, I think it's really important. Tony K. Bambara said that the job of the artist was to make the revolution irresistible. And I think about, you know, all the dance that was happening there. I think about, you know, I'm trying to write books that are very political, that are about Black people and folks in the African diaspora, but that are fun and sexy and, you know, they're thrillers, they're exciting, but ultimately at the end of the day, the politics are about our people getting the justice that we deserve.
So I just want to make sure I'm keeping track of my time here because we can talk for a little while. I'm super stoked to have this conversation with you. As a lover of the written word, where did you get your love of the written word? Because there are people who write books and then there are writers, right? The people who write the books, you know, put out something and it's all right. The writers are the ones where from the time you open the first page, that first paragraph hooks you and you're like, okay, I got to know what she did over here. I need to know what happened in the struggle. You understand what I'm saying? Where did that love of the written word come from for you?
I mean, I think it came from reading. I loved reading as a kid. And, I think part of the passion for me is I've really always loved kind of the thriller type books, the spy books, the mystery books. But at first, as a kid, these were stories about white people. And even though I liked the structure, right, I liked there's something we want to figure out or something big is happening, these stories about white people's lives were not so exciting. And so Toni Morrison says if there's a book that you really want to read and it isn't anywhere in the world, then you have to write it. And I think for me, the passion as a writer comes from, I want it all. I want it all, Andrea. I want books that are fun, that are sexy, that are political, and I want them to be books about my people. And my background is I have African-American roots, West Indian roots, and Puerto Rican roots. Like, I want to see my people, and I want to see my people fight, and I want to see my people win. I want to see my people win in their relationships. I want to see my people win in their fights against powerful forces, movements. I want to see, I have a heist series because I want to see my people steal money from shady people and get away with it. I want my people to win.
I love it. I love it. Now, let me ask you, so you have, I get that you love to read, which led to the written word, because, books open up a kaleidoscope of a plethora of words that we have to look up the meanings to them, and then it opens up a journey into a world that we dream about, or we can only dream about, but books will take you there. I can't wait to read your book. I really cannot, because I can already see where this is going. Were you afraid to write it as authentically as you did? And by that I mean, you talk. Huh?
I was saying, what a good question. I did. Okay, so I'll say this. When I was coming up, Toni Morrison had won the Pulitzer Prize, right? And, she is such a genius of literary fiction and just this wild storyteller. And I think that there was a way when I was coming up that it felt like, okay, she is, like, that's our goal. We want to just, like, be like her. And I'm not like her. Like, my work is much more, it's genre work. It's more commercial. It's more action. Like, those are the stories that come into my mind. And I think there was a part of me, and I think that this is also part of that, you had mentioned that I went to Harvard, and I think that training, right, that we get in these elite environments is that, somehow we're supposed to be writing the books that white people who give out prizes like, right? So I always felt like, okay, that's what I'm supposed to be doing. But yet these books that I was writing were much more for the people. And so it took me a while to just embrace that and be like, I'm writing for the masses, and the masses, it's not, because racism and classism would have us believe that in order to write for the masses, we have to dumb things down. No, we don't. The masses are smart. The masses may not like all those, or know all those long words, that show up in these, or the obscure references that show up in some of the more, literary fiction. But people are smart, and people want good stories. People want good stories. People want to see themselves reflected, and not just to reflect our struggles, because I write, about urban folks, about poor folks, about working class and struggling folks. But like I said, it's not just reflecting what's hard, writing these stories where people fight and win and change the conditions of their situation. So, yeah, I think I was scared for a while because I think this is a story for many people. And actually, one of my other books I think of in the Justice Hustlers series, The Accidental Mistress, which is about a young West Indian woman who comes to the States to go to boarding school and is set on that trajectory, right, of like the American dream and assimilating and giving up her accent and losing her patois, losing her connection to her roots. But then, some things happen, and she also has to figure out how to reconnect with her community. I think that was the thing for me, kind of coming through that elite institution and feeling like my job was to somehow assimilate to and impress them according to their standards. And it was powerful for me to decide, like, nope, I want to write about my community, to and for my community, and that has been very liberating for me.
What is the name of that? What's the title of that other book?
Oh, that other book, it's The Accidental Mistress. And that's I had so much fun with that story. So this is two Trini sisters with a Yardie love interest. And one of the sisters, like I said, the older one comes to the United States, and she is very much on a path to assimilation. And then the other sister comes undocumented, and she starts working as a stripper. So it's very much, within the United States, there's this whole binary of the good immigrant, the bad immigrant.
Yes.
So family,
oh, my gosh.
Within this family, we have one sister who's, considered the good immigrant and one sister who's considered the bad immigrant. And, they're action stories. So this is a story of a woman who, she's about to marry the African-American millionaire boyfriend from Harvard.
Right.
She's just about to achieve the dream. And then there's a case of mistaken identity, and it all starts falling apart. And she really has to question, those assimilation choices she's made. Like, is this really what she wants? And so it's very, it's juicy. This is the stuff I love to write about.
Yes. And the authentic. This is why I asked, what did it take for you to write so bravely? I'm from Jamaica, and I have been toying with writing a book on similar lines, but just coming here but in a story form, right? I love to write too. So in a story form around what does it look like when people want you to assimilate to a culture, but you have another culture that is steeped so deeply inside of you, and folks want you to choose one or the other. And why can't you be both, right? Why can't you?
And we can.
Yeah, of course we can. Absolutely we can, right?
But you're right. We've got to fight for that, because part of the story here in the United States is like, well, if you want to be here, you got to give up whatever else it was that you were or that your people were, whether it's like asking you to give up your passport or your citizenship or your patois or your culture. And, and it's a battle. It's a battle.
It is.
But I'm excited to hear that you want to write, because we want those stories. We need those stories.
Yeah. Aya, hold on 1 second for me, please. Let me take a quick break, and then we'll be right back, okay? You are listening to The Source. Whoever got me this interview, thank you very much, because I am thoroughly enjoying her. 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Hey folks, WURD members are invited to tune in every second Tuesday of the month with me, Nick, for a chance to win a book bundle of the newest releases from Kensington Publishing's culturally oriented Dafina imprint.
Ambition. You can't measure it, configure it, or bottle it up. But when you have it, you know it. It's that little voice in your head that says, you're not done. You want more. At WGU, we know all about ambition. We're a university that is rewriting the rules of higher education, making it more accessible, affordable, and student-focused than it's ever been. Because we know you won't rest until you reach your goals. Neither will we. WGU. Ambition never rests. Apply now at wgu.edu.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you're just joining us, I am in the middle of a great conversation. Wow. With Aya De Leon, who is a writer, activist, educator, spoken word poet, and author of the award-winning Justice Hustler series. You can find her newest book. She's author of A Spy in the Struggle at kensingtonbooks.com. I found it on Amazon and ordered a few copies just now. I'm looking for the other book, The Accidental Mistress. I don't see it on Amazon, so we can go on your website to find that other book, the other books in the Hustler series.
What I recommend for shopping online is bookshop.org. Bookshop.org. And you can find all of them on there, including The Accidental Mistress. So if you look up A Spy in the Struggle and click on my name there, it should pull up a bunch of my books. And if it doesn't, you can look up the first in the Justice Hustler series, Uptown Thief, or the fourth in the Justice Hustler series, Side Chick Nation, which is actually about Hurricane Maria. It was the first novel that came out about Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. So, I'm figuring out a way to write about these heavy political topics in a really accessible type of popular fiction, using thrillers, heists, spy fiction to explore these issues, for women of color, women of the African diaspora.
So you have done a great deal of work in your, as you're a writer, the underground again, and the poetry, everything that makes you a good writer. You've been a part of it, right? And you've been a part of the elite institutions, and you've stuck to, making sure that you keep the authenticity of not only the struggles in this country, but as it applies to different people from different walks of life that are now living here in this melting pot we called America.
That's right.
When you did you face any kind of discouragement about writing once you left the elite institution, and were there other hopes for you? And I'm asking this as an immigrant, right? Immigrant families tend to want us to be doctors, lawyers, or Indian chiefs. And anything that moves from that, it's I put all my money and my time into you, and you didn't do any, and you turned workless and all of this other stuff, right? Did you face any of that in any part of your family?
So I will say I'm unusual in that both my parents are artists, so I had a leg up there. So on my mom's side, I'm the second generation born in the States, and on my dad's side, in the West Indian line, I'm the third generation born in the States. So there's a little more wiggle room there. I know for my first generation people, the pressure is so thick. The pressure is so thick to pick a path of economic success, like you said, doctor, lawyer, stockbroker, something that people back home can say to the friends and the family and the aunties and the grandma, oh, so-and-so is doing so good in the U.S. We can prove it because it's something that is, known and familiar. But, and actually, I will say that the book I was mentioning, The Accidental Mistress, has that too, that she and her love interest is a Jamaican brother who's like a circus artist, right? And they met at Harvard, and they're both doing kind of their dreams. And I think that's the thing that, and it's hard, right? Because a lot of times, there are real economic pressures, especially if we're first gen, we're still really close to people in the homeland. People are struggling. I mean, people in this country are struggling, but people in the global South and in the Caribbean and back home are really struggling. So part of it is, if you do follow those lucrative paths, you can do more for your family, and that's real. But at the end of the day, you also are accountable to yourself and also accountable to your destiny, right? Because some of us really have thought and figured out how to be creative and come around to being able to make a good living, to be able to support, our extended family economically. Maybe not at first, but sometimes eventually. But also, you can't quantify the economics of kind of fulfilling your destiny, but also putting out the stories of your people in the world. Like, that's also very important for our cultural survival beyond just our immediate economic survival. So it's, it's both. Those pressures are very, very real.
Agreed.
And part of what I think we're being called upon now in these political times is to think beyond just our immediate family and our immediate survival.
Agreed. And it is also important for us to think about our souls. Oftentimes we get into these positions and these jobs and take the degrees that would make our parents proud and are miserable. And I have said this, nothing beats being in your most authentic space, doing what works for you authentically, because that is where you will find your success. And people will look at you and say, well, how are they able to do X, Y, and Z? Because they're following their why and listening to their soul. and everything else will fall into place.
And the other thing that I think is really important, and this is actually part of what shows up in A Spy in the Struggle, and this is for millennium folks, this is for the millennials, and also for people coming behind them. These educational institutions are making us promises about what these degrees will do for us that's based, in whatever was real in like 1997. But, getting these expensive degrees, because education is a business, does not guarantee any of the things that they say that it will guarantee, let alone happiness. It doesn't even guarantee that you'll really be able to get a decent job, that you can pay back those college loans.
Yes.
So I think that's the other thing, too. In this day and age, there's a way that you might as well follow, your joy and your passion, because there's no guarantee that getting that law degree or getting that MBA degree or getting that getting that that MD degree is really going to do for you what they said it was going to do for you. Because the things in the society are changing so much. And I think, that was part of what I wanted to explore in A Spy in the Struggle, that she has done everything right, as women of color, as people of color, as immigrants, we're told if you get on this path of the good girl, the good immigrant, the good person of color, and you do everything right, and you organize your whole life around being a good cog in the capitalist wheel, if you do it, we will reward you. But we're seeing over and over again that those rewards are not there as the wealth is being concentrated at the top, as here's this pandemic and the billionaires are getting richer and the people are struggling and dying, So all of those promises about what was going to get us to the good life are very, very suspect at this point.
Yes. And vague at the most, right? Vague. I've watched young people in school and their parents fight. My child has to get into these elitist institutions. They must get into them because that's how their future is going to work. And, we see, people ignoring the historically black colleges and universities. I remember when my oldest son was going off to college and he was told, don't you dare go to an HBCU because it's not taken seriously in the workforce, right? Meanwhile, we have people now at the vice president level who came out of an HBCU. We have,
that's right.
Stacey Abrams who came out of an HBCU, and on and on and on and on. And so we have to, I guess what I'm saying, Aya, is that we have to be very careful about the messaging that we allow to seep into our psyche, right? Because it comes at a cost, not just in our pockets, but to our souls.
That's right. And I think the other thing that we need to look at, college, I teach at college, I like college, I went to college, but college is not the be-all and end-all. And the other thing that that I see in hindsight is that part of what happens at college is that you have the opportunity to develop a team of people, a group of peers, friends, and a network of folks that, that you all will back and support each other for the rest of your lives. And going to an HBCU, there are a lot of possibilities there around having a group of positive black people who, you can be with for life. And that's it's harder to find your people in these super white institutions.
It is.
It is. It's just harder. It doesn't mean that there aren't good folks there and that you can't do it. But I think that people, as the older I get, the more I realize that it's much less important what school I went to or what grades I got there, and it's much more important who my folks are as I move through this life.
There you go. You are. I am so thoroughly enjoying you. All right. So where can people tell folks where they can find the book again and the whole the whole series? Lord.
Yes.
It's wonderful.
So it's really exciting. So A Spy in the Struggle is my first standalone novel. So it's a spy novel. And again, it's about FBI infiltration of an African-American climate and racial justice organization in the Bay Area. And that just came out from Kensington Books. And then there's also the Justice Hustlers series, which is a heist series. And It has, women of different backgrounds. The first one, Uptown Thief, has a Puerto Rican protagonist. The second one, The Boss, has an African-American protagonist. The third one, The Accidental Mistress, has a West Indian protagonist. And the fourth one, Side Chick Nation, has a protagonist who's Dominican and Cuban, but she goes through Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico. And you can find all of them at bookshop.org. Yes, and the reason that I encourage people to do all your book shopping at Bookshop is if we weren't in the pandemic, I'd say go to your local independent bookstore. But since we are in the pandemic, if you go to Bookshop, they'll make sure that the proceeds from the books support your local independent bookstore.
Got it.
And that's really important. Yeah, so that when we come out of this pandemic, our indie bookstores can survive.
So I'm going to cancel my order at Amazon and go on right on over to Book. I'm not playing. Listen, I do not play these games. And go over to bookshop.org. And I'm going to order the Justice Hustler series. Just sounds really intriguing. So I see what my summer reading is going to be this year, and I'm excited.
Yes, they're fun, and like we said earlier, they're 18 plus, but obviously parental guidance. I'm not gonna. And I know some younger teens who have read them, and they're all right, but just know that there's some grown folks doing grown people things in them.
Oh, all right now. Well, thank you for the disclaimer. We always make sure that people know that. Before you get off the line, you're in the Bay Area. What are things like there now in terms of the pandemic and COVID? And just give us a brief highlight, since you're from that end of the country.
Yeah, so the pandemic is the spike, which was really, really intense over like in December and in the earlier part of January, is finally slowing down a bit. There's still mumblings about will the schools open, will they not? Currently, they're not. And our governor just saw a hugely high COVID infection rate, and the hospitals were really, really overwhelmed for a period of time. I think that's getting a little bit better, which is why Newsom, our governor, lifted the shelter-in-place orders. But, it's been tough. And the other thing is California has, we're a very, very big and densely populated state. And the COVID vaccine rollout here is a mess. Very slow. One of the grandmas in our family who's in her 80s got her shot. One of the grandpas got his shot. So, folks are eventually getting vaccinated, but it's slow. But I'm grateful that it's moving forward.
Right. It's so, the author's name is Aya, A-Y-A, D-E, Leon, L-E-O-N, Aya, A-Y-A. She is author of Spy in the Struggle. People are asking on social media. You can find her books. The standalone book, Spy in the Struggle, was pushed through Kensington Books, but she's also author of the Justice Hustler series. And you can find all of these books at bookshop.org. So if you put her name in, Aya, A-Y-A, D-E, Aya de Leon. So it's A-Y-A-D-E-L-E-O-N. And I would suggest that you all go and order. And, I say, Aya, that books like yours encourage young people to read. I think we have to reimagine what education looks like and give them books that they can identify with, books that can open up their imagination and open up their mind's eye on what is possible in a world outside of where they currently are. I'm telling you, thank you so much.
It's exciting. Thank you. I will just say in terms of what I have coming up next, I just got a couple of contracts to write for young people. So those books will not have grown folks doing grown things. They will have young people doing political things, because that's how I get down. So, so those will be coming out in the next couple of years. I'm really excited about it. But it has been such a joy to be in this conversation with you. Yes. Yes, for
Thank you.
Black women. Yes, for Black radio.
So Aya, let me ask you this: can you come back? Can you come back after I read Spy in the Struggle, and let's just disseminate the shenanigans? Can we do that?
Yes, I'd love to.
Okay. All right, give me 7 days to read the book in between all the other things that I have going on, like a typical Jamaican. And then I will have Brianna.
Many things.
Yes. And then I'll have Brianna reach back out to you, and we'll disseminate the book. Okay? Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you. Have a blessed day.
You too. All right. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
That was Aya De Leon, author of Spy in the Struggle. That was a great conversation. For those of us who are avid writers and readers, this was the way she described this book, around the Federal Bureau of Investigation and people being infiltrated, using black people to infiltrate movements like the Black Panther movement, how they used a black person to infiltrate so that the FBI was able to assassinate their founder. And I just want to make sure, Fred Hampton, okay? And then the not so direct, the sowing of discord in organizations. I tell you guys all the time, we talk too much. We talk too much, and we have to be very careful who we pull into our inner circle. There are folks you can talk to and kiki with and have dinner with and have lunch with, but the folks that you want to, your most inner thoughts should not be just every lottie-dottie and everybody. You want to choose carefully who you tell your things to, because not everybody who says they're happy for you, if you've seen The Lion King, then you know who Scar is. Not everybody who says they're happy for you are absolutely there. So be very, very careful. And even when you're sharing, don't share everything. Just share some things until you can know. Because when you are stepping up outside of yourself on behalf of people and creating changes, you will become a target. And so you have to choose who your confidants will be. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Do you have big goals for your business in 2021? Get started and register now for the Business Center's online business plan course. In the 12-week business plan course, you will create a business plan and learn how to finance your business, use social media as a marketing tool, identify grants and loans for funding, and more. You can even receive a loan of $10,000 or more based on your completed business plan. Register now. Visit THEBIZCTR.com today to register for the course and secure your online seat. Financial aid and one-on-one business coaching options are available. Visit THEBIZCTR.com for more information and to register for the online business plan course today. Brought to you by the Business Center.
Thinking about retirement? Make sure a My Social Security account is a part of your plan. A My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal earnings history and benefit status. You can find out if you're eligible to receive benefits, compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates, view spousal benefit estimates, and more. Plan for your future. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security. Securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. It is almost 3 o'clock. I can't believe it, but yes, I can. If you'd like to call in, the phone number is 215-634-8065. I am happy to chat with you until I have my next guest on, which is at around 3 p.m. this afternoon. And then after that, we can talk right until the end of the show. I really enjoy listening to, talking to the WURD listeners. I have not been on the air since the inauguration of President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. And so, there's so much to disseminate, so much that continues to happen. The WURD listening audience continues to be concerned about violence in the city. We're talking about, what's happening with the vaccines, as everyone else is concerned around the country. Some folks don't want it. Some folks do want it. We're talking about the people who are actually giving out the vaccines and the fact that they need some support. The WURD listeners are also calling to ask, that we have the mayor and the police commissioner on the line to talk to them about exactly where things are going. We talk a lot about leadership in this city and what does that look like and what we've considered leadership in this city. We now have to go back to the, seriously, we have to go back to the drawing board and take another look at what we consider leadership, right? Because clearly what is happening is not working. It's not working. It's benefiting very few people, and the folks that need it the most are the ones that are struggling the hardest. And so, and then we talked with Aya De Leon, author of Spy in the Struggle, a book you know, that seems like it's a page turner. Talking about a young lady who was a part of the FBI used her to infiltrate a black organization, thinking that it was something that was crazy, but it turns out to be run by young black people. And where does she find herself? How does she then coordinate with the FBI, plus make sure she takes care of her people? And so when she was talking about that, when Aya was talking about that, I remembered when the Black Lives Matter movement came out, and we were reading all these articles that the FBI and other agencies were looking to see how they could infiltrate these organizations. What the Black Lives Matter movement did beautifully, in my humble estimation, was that they didn't have one key leader. They had a bunch of leaders, you know, so that it couldn't be concentrated on just one person. And there were plenty of folks that were finding ways to dismantle them, but they knew at the very top that they had to protect the people who were absolutely in charge, right? So if nothing else, black folks, black and brown folks, have learned from the missteps of the organizations in the 50s and the 60s. Not to say that those conversations aren't still happening. Not to say that people are still not joining organizations that look like us and sound like us and smell like us, but are, you know, joining organizations because they're being paid to infiltrate what's going on. So lots and lots happening here. You know, and the news continues to shift. I saw that Bruce Staley left the Philadelphia Eagles, and people are losing their cotton picking mind. Let me just see. Let me read this one. This just in from USA Today. Politics Live updates. Senator Leahy, not the Supreme Court Chief Justice, is expected to preside over the impeachment trial of President Donald Trump, which is supposed to start on February 8th. That's going to be interesting. There's another one that I saw. Let's see. Somebody just sent me a thing that Deuce Staley, who everybody, the Philadelphia Eagles sports commentators were saying that Deuce Staley should have been the next head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles. And of course, he gave it to someone else. And so Deuce Staley left the Eagles and has gone over, I believe, to Detroit. But I have to go back and look for it. I don't see it here. I'll figure it out in a minute. But anyway, so moving right along. It's been a good show thus far. We're almost 2 hours in. I cannot believe it. I want to read something from the Washington Post. We've been talking about police reform when I first got on the air. And it says, after the Capitol riot, police chiefs work to root out officers with ties to extremist groups. It's written by Kimberly Kindy, Mark Berman, and Kim Bellware. And so, the revelation that the Capitol mob, covered in emblems of extremist groups, included off-duty law enforcement officers, possibly assisted by working police, is escalating pressure on sheriffs and police chiefs nationwide to root out staff with ties to white supremacists and far-right armed groups. Law enforcement leaders have faced criticism in the past for failing to police their own officers' involvement with extremist groups. However, the selfie photos that off-duty officers took inside the Capitol building, thank you, Michael, during the violent siege, which left one police officer dead and dozens of others injured, were a wake-up call for many who have long denied the extent of the problem within policing. National Sheriff's Association President David Mahoney said, many police leaders have treated officers with extremist beliefs as outliers and have underestimated the damage they can inflict on the profession and the nation. We saw anti-government, anti-equality, and racist comments coming out during the Obama administration. Shame on us for representing it as freedom of speech and for not recognizing it was chiseling away at our democracy, Mahoney said in an interview. As we move forward, we need to make sure we are teaching our current staff members that they must have the courage to speak out when they know about another deputy's or police officer's involvement. There should be no reference to the thin blue line. The Capitol riot came as law enforcement officials already face a tense national landscape following last year's protests against policing, calls to cut their funding, and a broader reckoning on racial injustice. Then the mob stormed the Capitol, prompting criticism about how police treated the largely white crowd, and then anger when allegations emerged that officers were among their ranks, including one right here, at least one from Philadelphia, who was a part of the hiring crew in the Philadelphia Police Department, and we don't know what's happened there. And they'll probably say, it is employee confidentiality clauses. But I'm telling you, I need you all to go look up the George Floyd Justice Reform Bill that Congress passed last summer and look at it to see how it will start to now hold police departments accountable, because it's hard. It's hard to root it out when we have people sitting there covering it and making them feel better about what they're doing, right? So, Gary, how are you, Gary?
Hey, good afternoon. How are you, Andrea?
I'm good. What's going on, sir?
Oh, well, I don't even know where to begin, but I caught part of the segment with your guest that just left, and I was really enjoying that segment.
Thank you.
One thing I wanted to say is, like, we as a people, I don't understand how we can allow ourselves to be used by the so-called powers that be to infiltrate our organizations who are trying to get justice for our people. I don't know how individuals like that really sleep at night. We talk about the Black Panther Party,
right?
And what they were doing for our community, like breakfast and lunch. Mm-hmm. They were protecting our community. Mm-hmm. They were keeping the drugs out. And it's almost as if, no, it's not as if, they don't want to see our communities prosper. They don't want to see us get rid of the drug element in our community. So as long as they can pump the drugs in and whatever, illegal guns and whatever, that's what comes to our community. But what's more telling is when we go to our leadership.
Yes.
We have a lot of people, like here in Philly, that look like us. 3 black mayors, majority black city council. And I'm going to keep saying this till I don't have breath. It's like, how can you sit back and sleep at night knowing all of the inequalities and negative things that are being allowed to happen in our community, in our school district, and you're comfortable with that? I couldn't sleep at night, personally, if that was me. For my previous profession, sitting out in those classrooms, visiting those schools and seeing what I saw for years. And as I always say, my wife and I we were just blessed enough to put my sons in private school. And then they went on and matriculated to Masterman. And I'm just saying that to say, everybody doesn't have that opportunity. We were blessed to be able to have that, and we sacrificed, trust me. But it's no way we should still be in that condition now. And I just want to comment, I heard about the Deuce Staley situation. For me, I'm not a Philadelphia sports fan at all. Never have been. I identify with the black players on the team. We can go back to Dick Allen. We can go further back. And it's like how they treated us. Randall Cunningham, one of the greatest quarterbacks, in my opinion, to play the game, Mr. Excitement, always on Monday Night Football. You wouldn't even give my man a job and be in your organization. You didn't really honor him to the degree that you should have honored him.
Well, Gary, but we still continue to support these organizations, right? We don't want to say what's blatant. Folks are racist, right? And so we put our money out and we go to we buy the tickets and we put our money out and then we watch it. If we turn off our televisions, oh my gosh, the things
Andrea,
we could do to impact it.
Wait a minute, Andrew, that's why I don't support it. What they did to Wilbert Montgomery even, I mean, I read an article, I don't know how true it was, but at one time I think he was struggling so bad he was almost homeless. I don't know if that is something I read in the news feed some years ago, but still, why aren't those individuals in your organization? And we are like, some of our people are led like sheep. You love sports so much that you'll keep following these teams that are, in my opinion, have not done anything to honor the black athletes that played on their teams or give them the respect that they're due.
Yeah.
So as far as I'm concerned, for me, I'm not a Philadelphia sports fan at all. I identify with maybe a certain player here or there, but they don't give them the respect and the courtesy that they're due. And you know what? Nothing is going to ever change, Andrea, as long as we're like little sheep and they can throw us 2 little crumbs and we go for it. And whoever is listening, the politicians, their feelings, not that they get hurt because they're getting paid. I guess they don't really care. But as long as we sit back passively and don't do anything or say anything, it's going to continue. We're the poorest big city in the country. That's disgraceful. And I'm just going to say, just look at our school system. Dr. Hite comes in from Prince George's County, the wealthiest African-American county in the country, and our schools are still in this condition. When we had, oh my God, his name has escaped me, the previous school board superintendent, Dr. Hite? Not Dr. Hite, I'm sorry.
Arlene Ackerman.
Yes, Ackerman. Excuse me for slipping and saying Hite. But she gave a contract to a minority firm, just to say it was a black firm. The amount of money was minuscule. And look what they did to her. They rode her. And because she did something for a small black company, and we still keep. I don't know, Andrea. I get so frustrated with us being neglectful of our people that we should be supporting. Because I had my own personal experience with that, as I've mentioned before, and then people came to me later. Oh, Gary, you were right. I don't want to hear you coming to me telling me I'm right when you allow someone to scar my name, and take money out of my pocket for my family. Don't come to me like, Andrea, my circle is so small, it's not even almost a circle now.
Oh, I know. Listen, I understand.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold on 1 second, Gary. Let me take this quick break, and hold on. Just hold on for me. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. We will be right back after these messages.
Listen to Laborers Live.
We created the weekend. We created the 40-hour work week. We just want enough to feed our family, be able to send our children to college, and let our next generation do better than we did.
To people that might have forgot how important unionism is in a country like the United States. People now infringing on our 8-hour work day, trying to work people more than 8 hours without overtime, trying to work people without benefits. In the long run, everybody's getting a fat paycheck except the worker. So this is really a wake-up call for America.
The struggle is continuous. Tune in to Laborers Live every Friday from 4 to 5 p.m. Sponsored by LESIT, the Laborers Employers Cooperation Education Trust of the Laborers District Council of Philadelphia and vicinity.
Local 332, Sam Staten Jr. Business Manager. Local 57, Esteban Vera Business Manager. Local 135, Dan Woodall Jr. Business Manager. Local 413, James Harper Jr. Business Manager. The Laborers District Council, Ryan Boyer Business Manager, and Tony Staten, Executive Director of LESIT.
Did you know you can use LIHEAP to pay your PICO bill? Last year, PICO customers received almost $17 million in free LIHEAP support. This year, take advantage. This deal is first come, first served. Apply now. Call 800-34-HELP-4.
This is WURD Radio, 96.1 FM and 900 AM WURD Philadelphia. Independent Black Media.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I have Gary on the line, and Gary, you said something about the Philadelphia School District that reminded me that the Philadelphia Home and School Council put out a statement on behalf of the young one who loved Nissa. I think that's her name, Nissa Davis. Our thoughts and prayers are with the family, friends, classmates, teachers, and everyone who loved Nissa Davis. We have been in close communication with the principal at Thomas M. Pierce School and remain committed to providing continued support and serving as a trusted resource to local families. During this very challenging time, we would like to remind parents that the City of Philadelphia offers families without child care a safe place for learning through their Access Center program. To learn more about this program and additional resources available to parents, caregivers, and students within the Philadelphia School District, please visit our website, Philadelphia Home and School Council. Thank you, Athea Tucker, for sending that. So let's just go back, Gary, and talk about the inequities. We've been having dialogue around it, and I'm at the place, Gary, where I am past being disgusted. I'm past the place of being aggravated by what's not happening. I am now in a place of resolution, right? And so the resolute attitude on my behalf is let's stop waiting for the people who are never going to do anything to do something and start figuring out how we put people in place that will do something on behalf of
And you know what? I agree with you 150, 200%. Instead of complaining about it, we've got to run other viable candidates who really are concerned and love our people and have them in those seats down at City Council or in the mayor's office. And until we do that, it's going to be the same thing because certain individuals are beholden to different organizations. When you follow the money, it will tell you the truth. Follow who's contributing to these campaigns. Like the FOP, they contribute to certain people's campaigns. So,
and on top of that, Gary, here's the thing. There are people running for office that don't even understand the office that they're running for. And so when they get into the seats and you start asking them the crucial questions, yo, if you're running for an office, any kind of position, and yes, I said yo, and you're running for any kind of position, and you want to sit in that seat, you are supposed to be reading everything you must know about the policies and procedures, how to move, all of it. You can't get into the seat and say, well, you know, I'm just here and I'm just learning. Part of running for an office is knowing everything about that office so that when you're getting there, you can be a competent person. OMG, I can't take it. It drives me nuts. But thank you so much, Gary, for what?
Thank you.
What?
Right.
Go ahead. What, Gary? What do you want to say?
I was going to say, you got to understand the powers that be. They love individuals like that to be in those seats because they throw a couple of dollars at them, and they own them. And we have to own up to that ourselves. We have to stop acting like we don't see what's really going on. Thank you, Andrew.
Oh, you're welcome, Gary. Have a good one, okay?
You too.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, Bree, are you there?
Yes, I'm still here.
What's up, darling?
Good afternoon. I just wanted to say I totally agree with that we all have to watch out for people who look like us but don't have our best interests in heart. And it just reminded me of they even had laws back. It started back in slavery where if they had laws that if you turned on someone who's trying to start an insurrection, you could get yourself free from slavery if you turned in some of your own people. And also like the infiltration of people who were working for the FBI. I think a lot of people do it for money or something for personal gain. But I think that we have to, you know, that's been for 400 years. We need to stop that, and we need to start trying to come together with unity and look out for each other. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you so much, Bree. You have a good Monday, okay?
Thank you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, Jake, you're my last caller, and so I can take this next guest that's on. What's going on?
How you doing, Andrea?
I'm
good. It's a pleasure talking to you again. My concern is that, you know, the insertion in Washington, they're letting all of these people go, slap on the wrist. They're not locked up. They don't have a bill. And here you got the Black Lives protesters got $1 million bills. They still in jail. They locked up. They ain't with their family. Their mama ain't coming to get them, take them home. And why is it that the black people in this country is not rising up against this kind of nonsense? Why we keep accepting it?
Right. You know, it's interesting that you said that, Jake. Keir Bradford Gray, who's the chief defender in the city of Philadelphia, said just that. She said, I have people with bails that are outrageous, that are still facing federal crimes for walking down the street and marching. And these folks walked into the Capitol building, broke several federal laws.
It's unbelievable. You know, listen, if anybody out there want to try to get together and do something has to be done. I just can't. It does sit well in my soul to let these people sit in jail like this and not say nothing.
I agree.
It's not in my soul to do that.
So Jake, let me say this to you. When you get agitated about that kind of stuff, start making phone calls. Call the district attorney's office. Call the public defender's office, right? Start asking questions of your mayor, the people, the elected officials that are there to answer those questions. These are the people that got them in there and is keeping them in there. You think they're going to say, okay, yeah, you're right, or I'm going to let them. No, they're not. They're not. We need to get together and have an organization or people like this brother was just saying that represent us, who cares about us, who have our best interests in heart, and we need to go and talk to some people and tell them, listen, it can be this way or it can be that way. Which way you want to make it? Because we're going to be like this anyway, so we might as well stand up and fight for ourselves instead of just accepting this. It's crazy. The people in jail and suffering for it. And these white people running around stealing stuff out of this Capitol building, where they at? On with their families. It's not right. The young lady up in Allentown who 20 years old was given back to her mother, and the judge told her, because it was on Rachel Maddow's show, judge told her, you're only getting out of here because your mother came and pled on your behalf and you have a good public defender, quote unquote, right? And sent her home with her mother after she stole Nancy Pelosi's laptop and was a part of that insurrection at Capitol Hill. Right? It's a federal offense. And so it's interesting to see, you're right, how some folks are treated versus how other folks are treated. Now, because of the history of this country, we can already say that, you know, if that was somebody black who stole Nancy Pelosi's, the Speaker of the House.
I'm honest with you, Andrea. I'm sick and tired of this talking stuff. It's time to either get somebody's attention or we just want just bend over and pull our pants down and let them have their way with us. Because it just seems like as long as we keep accepting it, they're going to keep running it on us. That's all I have to say. Thank you for taking my call.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jake. You have a good afternoon. My Lord, it's been interesting. Very interesting. So I'm now pivoting to my next caller. This is Naima Holiday, Memphis Street Academy CEO. Memphis Street Academy makes food pantry available to families learning remotely. The pantry opening addresses Philadelphia's rising food insecurity rates and demand caused by the pandemic. And so this was released January 19, 2021. Memphis Street Academy, one of 4 American Paradigm schools located in Northeast Philadelphia, today announced its no-cost food pantry that is available to all Memphis Street Academy families as students continue to learn remotely. Goods will be distributed safely by Memphis Street Academy staff through contactless drive-ups every other Monday through June 2021 from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. The offering comes in direct response to the growing need expressed by Memphis Street Academy families as rising food insecurity rates are projected to reach 21.8% in Philadelphia County due to the COVID-19 health crisis. CEO Naima Holiday, good afternoon. How are you?
I am doing just fine, Andrea. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Oh, you are quite welcome. So tell me about this food pantry that you're making available.
Great, I definitely know, but can I take a few minutes to tell you a little bit about Memphis Street Academy for your audience as well, who may not be familiar with who we are? Okay, great. So Memphis Street Academy, formerly known as John Paul Jones Middle School, became the home of the Wildcats in 2012. We're a Renaissance charter in Philadelphia. We're a middle school. We're located at 2950 Memphis Street in the Port Richmond section of the city, near Ann Street and Aramingo Avenue. However, we serve 5th through 8th graders who reside in the Kensington section of our city. So our scholars travel to Memphis Street on a daily basis. Well, prior to the closing, obviously.
So you're in the Northeast. Well, hold on one second. You talk just about as fast as I do.
and I was told that several times, so I purposely was preparing to slow my words down. So I'm going to be very cognizant of that. As we move forward, I will slow down.
Okay, so you're located in the Northeast, but you serve children mostly in the Kensington area. Is that what you just said to me?
Yes, we're located in the Port Richmond section of the city, near Ann Street and Aramingo Avenue.
Okay, Port Richmond. Okay,
but our students
all right.
travel to us. So at Memphis Street, we are extremely proud to offer a personalized learning experience in our caring school community. That is our vision and our mission. And we focus on these things because I believe that scholars deserve caring and customized learning experiences that not only prepare them for adulthood, but ignite their desire to achieve optimal outcomes in school and life. That's very important to us. And I'm sure as an educator yourself, you are likely familiar with those terms, personalized learning and a caring school community.
Yes.
Our personalized learning model, for those who don't know, it does focus on individual strengths, needs, interests of each scholar, and the instructional program is created based on those things using several online interventions, small group instruction, other strategies as well. And because of the hard work of our scholars and our teachers and our administrators in the classroom, we were recently recognized by Grace Philly Schools as a high academic growth school for demonstrating impressive academic growth over a 3-year period in both math and English language arts.
All right, so I'm going to need you to say that all over again for me. You were recognized.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Am I still talking too quickly?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because
okay.
I can't. Okay, so you were recognized by whom?
We were recognized in 2020 by Great Philly Schools as the high academic growth school because we demonstrated impressive academic growth for over a 3-year period in both math and English language arts.
Oh, wow. Very good.
Yeah, thank you. In addition to our high-quality instructional program, we truly believe that extracurricular activities are much needed when we offer these experiences to our scholars. Our MSA Clubhouse, we offer NCAA athletics, include boys and girls, JV, basketball, baseball, softball, track, volleyball, in addition to non-traditional sports in our cities like bowling and soccer. We also have an arts and music program as a STEM program that includes robotics courses as well as coding courses by our teachers.
Right.
Caring School Community. The second part of our vision that I mentioned is at the heart of everything that we do at Memphis Street Academy, which is why there was absolutely no doubt that opening the food pantry at Memphis in partnership with Babashi will come to fruition when it was presented to us. The goals of our Karen School community are to create a culture of kindness and respect where all of our students and staff are treated in a warm and safe, supported environment. Our Karen School community is a research-based SEL program that provides community, it develops student social skills, and it also enables us to transform our stance on discipline, which is very important.
Okay.
One of the four components of our Karen School community, which leads right into our conversation today about our pantry, is called Homeside Activities. And these activities and opportunities are created to enhance the relationship between home and school. And, of course, opening our pantry was just another way. Families that we serve in the street are considered low income. And, obviously, all of these alarming rates have been exacerbated since the COVID-19 pandemic.
Okay. So so tell me what has been happening with the families as they're getting these healthy meals. What are you providing when you say you're giving meals? Give me an example of the meals that are being provided.
Right. So our pantry is open every other Monday from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. And families come and receive canned goods, cereal, microwavable things, meat, noodles, a variety of healthy snacks and things like that. And they can come every other Monday. You can drive up. You can walk up. We are following all social distancing guidelines in regards to keeping families hardware, utilizing sanitizers, masks, gloves, all of those things. So when our families visit Memphis Street Academy, they are definitely safe when they retrieve food from our food pantry. In addition to our food pantry, we also serve 4 days a week via our food service program with Shields. So also, in addition, our families can come Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Not just our families. Let me backtrack. I'm sorry. Not just our families. Any community member over the age of 15 can visit Memphis Street Academy at 2950 Memphis Street between 10 and 1, any day except Wednesday, and receive free breakfast and free lunch for anyone over the age of 18. And we have so many tasty things on our menu this week, including chicken tender, mozzarella sticks, have green beans, a creamy mac and cheese, a 3-bean salad, a barbecue cheddar melt. So we have a wonderful menu of food that we would love to share with our Memphis Street Academy families as well as our families in our community to ensure that we can help support the insecurities that so many people are facing right now.
Okay. All right. So, wow. You said 5 mouthfuls. I'm just still trying to keep up with you.
Okay.
What I think struck with me is the fact that you are serving the community as well as the students in your school. Now, with remote learning, how is that happening? Is that still continuing to happen?
Yeah, it's still continuing to happen. So our families do travel, like I shared before. The vast majority of our families do not live in close proximity, but many of our families do travel. We also have school vans that can be utilized if families have difficulty getting to our school to retrieve their meals. But our families are showing up. They're showing up to get meals because our building is open for other things as well, for technology needs. If families need to repair a Chromebook, if families need to pick up a hotspot, and many of the other services that we offer during the remote learning, we just encourage our families to also stop in and grab meals if they're unaware. But yes, we can serve any member of the community under the age of 18, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, 10 to 1 at Memphis Street Academy.
Oh, wow. Wow.
And for the month of, for January alone, we're only into the third, averaging about 150 meals per day already for the month of January. And to date, since our closure, we've served close to 10,000 meals to our families and to our residents since we closed for the COVID-19 pandemic. So we're very proud of the that we've been doing, and I'm very happy and appreciative that I have the opportunity to speak with you today so that we can promote the program even greater.
Yes. I am impressed that you've been able to navigate where so many other buildings have not had the opportunity to, or maybe they're not calling in and I just don't know that that's what's happening for them. But I just want to thank you. You're doing a yeoman's job over there. And on behalf of the WURD listeners, I thank you for calling in and sharing. How can people get into your school if they'd like to send their child there?
Oh, great. Yeah, so Memphis Street Academy, we do have open enrollment all year round. They can go to applycharter.org and apply for Memphis Street Academy Charter School. If you need more information at any time, you can give us a call at 291-4709. You can also shoot us a message and follow us on Facebook at Memphis Street Academy. At Memphis Street Academy on Instagram, we are the MSA Charter Wildcats. And on Twitter, you can follow us at street_Memphis. So any of those ways, you can reach someone at Memphis Street, and we will gladly get back to you for any callers to join us.
So give it to me again slowly. I got 215-291-4709. That's the phone number.
4709. That is our phone number.
4709 or 29?
Yes, 09.
Okay. All right. So I got that. That's the phone number to call you. And if they want to do open enrollment and go online, it's www.what?
Apply Philly Charter.
Say that again for me, please.
Apply Philly Charter. APP.
Apply. Okay.
Apply. Yes, Apply Philly Charter.
Okay. All right. Because I want people to, they will call into the radio station and say, well, where was that person that you were talking to? What's the phone number? So for open enrollment, go to Apply Philly Charter. So you can get into Memphis Street Charter School. I love the name of the school, by the way.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And if you don't have internet access, because we don't want to assume everybody does, call 215-291-4709. Thank you so much, Ms. Naima Holiday. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
All right.
Have a wonderful
You're
afternoon.
welcome.
Take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Ooh. She had such a plethora of information, and I was trying to keep up. She talks as fast as me. When the WURD listeners call and say, Andrea, can you slow down? Now I know how they feel. She was good, though. She was really, really good. All right. So, George, I heard you called and hung up. You better find the phone number and call me back. I know you want to fuss about something. Jerry from West Philly, are you there?
Yes. Hi.
Hi.
I
What's
haven't
going
talked
on?
to you in a while, so yes, I had my pen ready writing it down too.
Yes.
You have a wealth of information. What I was calling about is that you keep getting called. Well, I'm sorry. Let me back up. We had some callers today that kept on. They keep on saying what can be done about the murders and stuff, and so the murders and everything like that in Philadelphia. And I did hear that there's a gentleman down there around City Hall. He's actually on a hunger strike for them. For them to do something about the murders. So I happened to be going past there on the bus. He was there by himself. So I'm like, everybody, a lot of these people be calling. So my thing, go out there and give him some support. You know what I'm saying? Not just talk about it, but be something about it, And another thing, too, so I thank you for taking my call. I meant to say that first. And another thing, too, is that sometimes I wonder, what is their solution? Like, they come up with all these, we need to do this, we need to do that. But what is your solution? And all I could say is sometimes I be like, are y'all thinking about on the radio violence or not? Because truly we are outnumbered. If they forget, we are not the majority, okay? So if they're talking about going that way, then I don't, sorry. If they talking about going that way, I think you better rethink that, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd be curious about, when they say that, what are y'all talking about? You know what I'm saying? So thank you for listening, for taking my call. And you have a blessed day.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes. All right, you too. All right, bye-bye. Bye-bye. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
This is not a fad for us. We will not resume our regular programming when things die down. We're not black to help our bottom line or because it's politically correct. We're not joining a fight. This has been our fight, our message, our people. Black lives have always mattered here. We are undeniably, indefatigably, unapologetically, permanently Black Talk Media. WURD.
Teachers shape the future. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who'll make preventing pandemics their life's work. Sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who'll help combat climate change. And generating possibilities for a student who'll be the first in their family to graduate college. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. If you see me giggling, Michael is making me crack up. Oh, I love my producers. They're so good. This just in. Extension of unemployment benefits to resume in Pennsylvania. Starting today, unemployed Pennsylvanians can start applying for some more much-needed relief that will be available. This will allow people to use a federal program that has been stopped since December. People who will be able to file for an additional 11 weeks of unemployment compensation, according to the state's Office of Unemployment Compensation. If you had some of your original weeks left over on December 26th, you will also receive the 11 additional weeks. So this just in. They've given you another 11 weeks of unemployment compensation. Just came in for Pennsylvania. So if you're unemployed in Pennsylvania, please go and look that up and get yourselves situated so you can continue to have food and a place to live, that kind of stuff. Thank you so much for letting me know. George hung up, so I'm waiting for George to call back. If he doesn't, I don't know what is going on with George. Must have been some emergency. But I want to talk to you about the election that's coming up. Because I swear, we talk about the presidential election and nobody delves into what are we waiting, what are we doing. So we have the state Supreme Court elections, the intermediate appellate courts elections, the special state legislative elections, school board elections, and municipal government elections. Right, so I just want to make sure in Pennsylvania, let me just see where, Pennsylvania, in Harrisburg, we have mayor, city council. So in Harrisburg is city council and the controller, that's up. In Philadelphia, we have the district attorney's election, the city controller, judge of election, inspector of election, and local judicial seats. And so these are the kinds of things that I keep saying to us that we need to really pay attention to what's happening. I talked to Judge Carolyn Nichols about the fact that so many people do not have any idea of how the Pennsylvania court system works. And when we have elections around judgeships, I'm telling you that folks don't show up for judge elections, but then we fuss and complain when we are arbitrarily treated horribly in the system. So we have to pay attention to who the people are that are running for judges and show up to vote in those elections. So she sent me something, and it says the Pennsylvania court system is structured like a pyramid with the Supreme Court at the top, right? So you start off with the minor courts, then the courts of common pleas, then the Superior Court, Commonwealth Court, and then the Supreme Court, right? She says that the special courts are the first level of Pennsylvania judiciary. Minor courts or special courts are the first level of Pennsylvania's judiciary. These courts are presided over by magisterial district judges, and so if you're in the county, you'll see them all over the place, and municipal court judges. Municipal court judges do not have to be lawyers, right? They are required to pass a qualifying exam, and each court has its own elected judges. There are over 500 judges statewide, and that's just from the special courts, the overview. The special courts, they're responsible for, and they're the first level of the judiciary. They're responsible for whether serious criminal cases go to the Court of Common Pleas. They're responsible for preliminary arraignments and preliminary hearings, and they're responsible for setting and accepting bail, except in murder or voluntary manslaughter cases. I have walked into court systems on behalf of young people in school districts that were charged with crimes and offenses that just makes no sense that other children would have been sent home to their parents for. And I've gone to one court case, it's too many, just paying attention to what's happening to those young people. So you want to pay attention to your minor courts, right, which is the first level of the Pennsylvania judiciary. Then we have the courts of common pleas. And, you know, That's the court. They're responsible for appeals from the minor court. So if you got a sentencing at the minor court and you don't agree, then you take it to the Court of Common Pleas, either in Philadelphia or whatever county that you live in. So they are responsible for pleas from the minor courts and appeals not exclusively assigned to another court and matters involving children and families. So you'll see that now in the Court of Common Pleas. They have them set up in Philadelphia to talk about families. They have judges for the family side. They have judges for the criminal side. They have judges for the civic side, business side of things. And so you want to know who these people are. It's not just enough to, see that they're in office, that they're running for office. Some judges win with under 100 votes because people are not showing up to vote. And so we want to know the May primaries, May 18th, 2021, and the elections this year, the general elections, November 2nd, right? Let's see. A primary election is an election in which registered candidate that they would be a political party's candidate for elected office to run in the general election. So for instance, let's say 4 people are running for district attorney's office. The primary elections, whoever wins the primary elections, that's the person that will run in the general election against someone from another party who won in their primary, right? So right now it's the 2-party or the 3-party or the 4-party system. Whoever wins in the primaries are the ones that will get to the general elections. Let me say this to people, because folks sometimes believe that if you are not endorsed by a party, you should not run in the primaries. Run anyway. We have seen people who were not endorsed by the party system that ran in the primaries and won and ended up winning in the general election. So that is very important as we move along. You register to vote in Pennsylvania, you must be a citizen of the United States for at least 1 month before the next election, a resident of the district in which he or she is registering for at least 30 days before the next election, and at least 18 years old by the day of the next election. The deadline for registering to vote is 15 days before an election. Registration can be done online, in person, or on mail. With COVID, I'm going to tell you, do it online. And so there are Pennsylvania permits early voting, and that began really, there were for absentee ballots, but because of what's been going on, folks have been doing a lot of this online. And how do you file to run for office? I'm going to go over all of this stuff as we go along. Brianna will put it on my agenda every day. We're going to talk about the elections, because when you want to talk about change and you want to create change, start seeing who's running for the district attorney's spot, who's running for the city controller, who's running in these judges' elections, who are these people. Start reading up about them, and not just what they put on paper that sounds good, but what does their records show to you? What record are they running on, right? What have they done in their past? If they are already elected, what have they done in their elected office that would make you want to run for them again? Those are the kinds of things that I'm talking about. We just have to pay attention, and we just can't say, it's not enough for us to be upset about any of these things anymore. We just got to pay attention. All right, so let's see what else is happening. Let's see. The pandemic took a big bite out of Philadelphia's tax base. What happens if suburbanites keep working from home? This was written by Christian Hetrick and Laura McChrystal. With coronavirus vaccines underway, Day and Zimmerman is deciding which workers to bring back to the office as early as this summer. Fran Coady, head of human resources for the construction, manufacturing, and government services company, is exploring which jobs can be done well remotely, who wants to stay home, and whether the Philadelphia firm can cut costs by shrinking office space. Many of Day and Zimmerman's 41,000 workers who make munitions, maintain power plants, and protect U.S. embassies around the world cannot work remotely. But the company's 450 office workers at its headquarters on Spring Garden Street are either part or full-time, Coady said, are working permanently. Okay. Are another story. Many of them could work from home permanently, either part or full-time, Coady said. No decisions have been made yet. We have just concluded that this should not be a one-size-fit-all, she says. It's a job-by-job decision. But decisions like these could reshape Philadelphia offices, but they could also leave fewer workers coming into the city every day, eating into a tax base that relies heavily on taxing wages and business revenues. 3/4 of Day and Zimmerman's Philadelphia office workers live outside of the city. And so you're going to see, if you think the impact is there yet, lots of impact is going to continue to happen, that we're not talking about. George, I hear you're there. How are you, sir?
And I'm fine, and I'm glad you're back. It's hard to fill your shoes when you're not there. It's really, one could tell. Even though Tiffany Bacon was good, it's not you. But we live with, how do you say? We live with what we have. We work it out that way. And I want to thank Prince for bringing that whole thing of what he was saying to your attention about the Philadelphia public school system and how Height is. The weekend, it was like Height was exposed with the head of the Builders Trades, which is Mr. Doherty and Ryan Boyer, when Mr. Doherty said that, he's getting sick and tired of every time you turn around, people don't know what they're talking about and don't know anything about how the Builders Trades work, always saying they're racist, they're this, that. He says, but they never say anything about Height when they offer their services. Like I had mentioned on your show before, and they did too, is that when they was going to put solar plant, whatever that is, the solar systems in the school system, Height never got back to them because the Builders Trades guys, the interns, needed the hours, to become journeymen. They have a journeyman, and they didn't give them an answer to that. Now that all the schools are cleared up with asbestos and everything because they've been empty, and that there's another thing. But he never gets back to people. He never talks to people. But, it's like and then Mr. Doherty said that he's been trying for the last 4 years to bring all the trades back into the schools, and the Builders Trades would basically, eat the tab for that. Never gave an answer.
So wait a minute. So it wouldn't cost. So wait a minute, George. So they're trying to get the trades back into the schools, and the trades would eat the cost for that, and no one got back to them from the district.
Yeah, they would put the trades would put the things that the proper equipment of what they need to know.
Right.
And the teachers in there to teach them how to do that, but they would never get back to them with a proper type answer. It's always bureaucratic foolishness, which they don't have time for. And they were really kind of pissed with Height about that.
Right.
Height has a tendency of believing that everybody should go to college. He's not one who believes in trades and people doing that type of. He's just like the Northwest elitists. All those special type people we talk about all the time. That looks down on the guy who got to hit the mud and the dirt and all that. Think everybody should be in a nice suit and tie, clean fingernails and all that there. And those are the ones who go to college and come out with debt and don't have a job. And the guy that's got all that grime and dirt on his hands and everything, got a house paid for, car paid for, kids going to school and no debt. That's the kind of stuff they forget, those trades. But the next time you find some idiot talking about, trades this and trades that, talk to Height about that, because those guys can't get jobs because they don't know the protocol of knowing how to read, or not read, but knowing how to, use the proper type tools of how that really works. So all that played out very well. But to show you that you had the two major union representatives saying it. But Height will never come on your show. We just made a bet that a whole $1,000 will go to whatever senior complex that I wanted to go to of mine. And the other person, if I lose, I will have to pay $1,000 wherever they wanted to go. And the bet is that I'm saying that McNesby will come on your show before the police commissioner come on your show. That's how sure I am that she's not going to come on no black show, period. McNesby, they say, is white and racist, but he's going to come on your show. He listens to your show every day. I was shocked and surprised to find that out.
You lie.
He listens to your show every day that he's in the city, or he can get. Matter of fact, he don't even listen on it. He listens to his phone. Some crazy stuff they was telling me, but he listens. And he listens. He hears all that there. just like Larry Krasner. They blame Krasner for everything, and it's the police's fault. Like Larry says, I can't prosecute what they don't bring me. What they bring me, I can prosecute. That's just the way it is, you know. But it's just crazy the way, you know, things go. Let me say something else real quick about what Maurice was talking about earlier, but he forgot to say, Philadelphia has the best camera system there is in the world. I mean, Paris started it, but even the people in Paris came over here and looked at how we have the crime time, whatever they call it. It's no way humanly possible if you commit a crime in this city, you can get away with it without getting caught. If you shoot off a gun, they got towers that it will pick up at least for a mile, and almost within 15 to 20 feet, it tell exactly where the shot was fired. The cameras automatically come on. Everybody be thinking that they got these big, bulky cameras. They got cameras almost the size of your cell phone on poles and stuff that can cover like 4 or 5 blocks.
Oh, I know.
I mean, the technology, and they had a meeting about it yesterday. And all the people that was like in media was saying is that how is it that the Philadelphia Police Department do not use the technology that they have, and the feds use Philadelphia Police Department's technology, DEA, FBI, ATF, all of them use it when they want to track somebody. We have the best thing called a tag. It can track any tag in this city or out of this city. All they need to do is know the 3 parts anywhere on the tag, like AJY or something like that there. They will hit AJY, and then automatically the computer will tell you where, where all those cars at in the city, and they can narrow it down to who they're looking for, hit it in there. I mean, I was really shocked, and it's a shame that we got a police commissioner that don't even know the tools that she have herself to solve crime. Well, really, she ain't here to solve no crime. She here to just sit there and do what she's told to look nice, do photo ops.
So let me ask you this. Why are you all so aggravated with this woman?
Because kids are getting killed, women are getting killed, and it's the police department's job to do it. All this gun buy stuff, that's a photo op, okay? All that speech stuff, that's a photo op. I mean, they've been doing that for years and going to keep doing it. And they really, remember, in this city, death hustlers, we call them, right? Death is a business in this city. Everybody gets paid off death. They don't care. They're the most inconsiderate, don't care people there is. I mean, you learn how dirty and rotten these people are. Do you ever see anybody doubting what I say? I mean, you get some of the naysayers who say it, who cares? But they don't know anything. They haven't been nowhere around nowhere. They haven't been in nowhere where these people be arguing. We ain't going to talk about that. We got more important things to do. This city needs this and we need that. You know, like you got some people worried about trash. And like I said this morning, if the mayor don't care about it, what makes you think anybody else going to care about it?
Right.
It's just the way it goes. Everything starts at the top in this city, and people don't say anything. Everybody walk around and keep their mouth shut, which they're supposed to do because they don't want their check cut off. Don't you dare open your mouth. Keep your mouth shut. Don't follow George and start talking about these elected officials because you will get cut off quick, you know, and they know it. I mean, it ain't no secret. You got these people around here, some of them got pensions off hustling debt. You got some of these groups, all they do is go to conferences and all that there, and the city pays all that money. This is the first year the city hasn't paid out millions of dollars to these groups. And they're mad, but they got to keep it going.
So Lucy Liu just wrote, if Doherty cared so much about our children getting trades, his daughter has a trade school that gives scholarships to 2 students each year, and I've been going to the graduations, and I've yet to see them give them to any black students.
Well, I show you that she don't know what she's talking about because half the school is black, and it's the best charter school in the city.
So you happen to know where
everybody in there is.
How you know so much about everything, George? Really?
No, I don't know everything. I have a thing of what I take my time out to go to meetings. I have a tendency of making sure I know who's who and what's what. That's it. That's all you got to do. Sit there, keep your mouth shut, and if you're invited to something, to say something. Like if the mayor has something and I'm in there, that gives me the key to say what I want to say. And basically, if he told me to come somewhere, he want me to see how like he said, he can buy you as low as $250 and no more than $2,500. They'll sell their whole community out. And like he say, if they sell their community out, what you think they think of mine or me or my administration?
Oh, thank you, George. So now you're gonna make me need some more
man.
herbal tea.
These people are the worst. When it comes, money is not the root to all evil. You know, they are. They make money evil. But like I say, they have no basic core principles. As soon as you start talking about them, they get mad. But you tell them, all you got to do is do your job.
Yeah.
And believe me, I can't wait till one of them get out of pocket, say something wrong, and then I'm going to come on here and start calling their name out. Then they can start calling the station and say, well, you know, we'll do this here. If you don't get them off the air, you can't have those people talking about. Elected officials do not like you to talk about them. But so far, they can call management all they want. They don't want to hear that crap because a lot of your listening audience want to know what's going on. They don't want to know what's going on in Tennessee or out there in Arkansas. They want to know what's going on in their city. Why is it that these killings keep going on, the numbers go up, and all you
Brianna, Brianna is reaching out to the mayor's office, and so if anybody listening from the mayor's office and the district attorney's office and the police commissioner's office, I'm happy to talk to any of them because you're right. We have to address these. We have to address these murders that are in the city. So somebody please come on and tell me what is happening here. Thank you, George. You have a good one, man. I got to take a break. It done took about 7-8 minutes of Mother's time giving us all the details. Talk to you soon. And he just hung up, ignorant. You are listening to The Source, 96.1 FM, 900 AM, streaming live on WURDradio.com. Follow us on all social media platforms at onWURD. 215-634-8065 is the number to call in. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders, and we will be right back after these messages.
Want the latest in Word swag? Check out the shop tab on WURDradio.com. Hoodies, tees, and more in a variety of colors. The shop tab on WURDradio.com. Show the world that you're all about black. Talk Media.
Enterprise Exterminators, located 4943 Wayne Avenue, specializing in lantern flies, termites, bed bugs, fleas, mice, and roaches. Do-it-yourself kits are available. Call now, 215-849-7070.
You're listening to The Source with Andrea Lawful Sanders on WURD Radio.
Streaming live on WURDradio.com and the WURD Radio app.
Welcome back to The Source. I'm going to use this last few minutes to discuss something that I have been working on. And so as a radio show host, I get a bunch of calls, from people with concerns that they're having around the city. What I end up doing is I reach out to the people who are a part of those concerns, and I say, this is what I've been hearing. This is the research that I have done, and I make sure that I attach Brianna to those emails. So if you have been hearing me discuss Martin Luther King High School, I'm just because there's a string of emails here, right? I just want to make sure. I asked a bunch of questions. Let me just make sure. Lord Jesus. Because I put out a bunch of, it was last Sunday, about 8 or 9 days ago, when I reached out to the Philadelphia School District because on a Sunday morning, I was pulled into a Zoom call with students and family members and educators to talk about what was not happening at Martin Luther King High School. They were very clear with me that the principal who was over there is a decent sister who just isn't getting the supports that she needed to keep her building running. And that was the first time she was given a large building of the sort. I then reached out to the school district and I explained to them these were the things that I had been hearing. And so I said, I wanted to speak to the principal, who was Miss Wilkins, or Mr. Scallon, who is her immediate boss as assistant area superintendent, right? And so I let them know that I fielded quite a few calls and social media contacts regarding MLK, the lack of equity and opportunities for access. The seniors are worried about the end-of-year protocols, yearbook pictures, and I am being told that vendors are not being paid for services from a year ago. It has been further discussed that there are teachers in the building who should not be working with students as they are not up to par on curriculum and what should be taught. Now, that came from teachers themselves, right? That there are teachers in the buildings that are just not doing what they're supposed to do, and they're just kind of sitting there and giving the children heartburn. So I heard back from Mr. Scallon, who then pushed me over to Monica Lewis from the Philadelphia School District, and which kind of bothered me, because if you are and I get it, I get the optics, sat on a school board, I understand, I get the optics. If Mr. Scallon didn't want to talk to me immediately and reached out to the communications department at 440 Broad, then that's interesting, in that at some point somebody should have said to him, I'm just speaking to you as a community leader and someone who sat on a school board. You have to address these needs. We can't just give them a bunch of answers via email. And as the immediate boss of that school, you know, I'm sure he has a few other schools under his purview, that you come on the air and at least say to us, this is what's going on there. These are the things we can fix. You see, because people understand when you say, you know what, we didn't get it right, and these are the things that we're going to do. Instead, I got a response from Monica Lewis, who was very nice. She said, good afternoon, da-da-da-da-da. We appreciate the fact that you have taken the time to reach out to us regarding information you've heard about Martin Luther King High School. At this time, neither Assistant Superintendent Scallon or Principal Wilkins will be available to appear on your show. This was for this upcoming week. And I'm reading this on the air because I want you all to see what is not acceptable, right? Now, Monica was doing her job as a communications director, but if we want changes in our school buildings, and I told them when I responded to this email, I am going to continue talking to students. I'm going to continue highlighting the inequities in that building until somebody from that school district get on the phone and start to tell me exactly what's happening to those children and those families, because it is criminal. Right? We have all these conversations around what we should do, what we can't do. And so let me just read this, you know, oh, Lord help me, Jesus. It's too much. She says, here are the matters included in your email. Please see below and do not hesitate to contact them, which I did, and then told them, you know, it's not okay. So teachers not up to par in curriculum. She says the School District of Philadelphia does not comment on performance or personal matters, something she didn't have to tell me because I sat on a school board and she knew that. However, we can say that our educators regularly receive professional development and training to ensure that they are prepared to offer the best instruction and support to their students. In addition to several weeks of professional development over the summer, addressing routine back-to-school training, as well as training on how to engage in digital instruction. Our educators have access to professional development training throughout the school year. Our primary goal is to provide a high-quality education to all of our students. If any parent or student has concerns about a staff member, they are encouraged to contact the principal or assistant principal of their school or the assistant superintendent for their respective learning network. That did happen. Parents did reach out to the assistant superintendent of their school, and they reached out to the principal, who was MIA for several months. Some things were going on in her family, which I will not discuss here. So I gave her that right to be able to do what she needed to do to get moving, right? But they did. Folks reached out. This is why they reached out to me, because if they had reached out and gotten a response, any response at all, let alone a one that was sufficient, then I would not have been called into the fray, right? Lack of equity and access, which is another thing that I said to them. In 2020, the School District of Philadelphia launched the Equity Coalition, an initiative created to provide the structure needed to redesign a more equitable school district. The coalition is working with staff across the district to implement a strategic plan to ensure that we are listening to people from every part of our district community to help us better understand what our students need. The work also includes outreach to our school communities, and we will continue to engage with parents, families, and stakeholders to solicit input on how we can create and maintain a culture of access and equity throughout the district. My response to that, and I'll tell you what my response is, vendor payments. And they went on to say that they've determined that the vendor payments were delayed, you know, and so they're working on that. And the class of 2021, they're trying to make sure that because of COVID, they're getting each student where they need to be. The problem with that is, in my estimation, that, let me just make sure that I put up here. Let me just see this. Hold on, because I want to make sure that I'm reading the correct thing here to all of you. I responded. I waited too. See, when I read something that doesn't make sense to me, I responded. I responded to her email, and what I essentially said was, and I'm trying to find it here. Oh, so that I'm very clear about what I said to her in the response. I said, thank you for your detailed response to my queries. As you are aware, I sat on a school board for 8 years, and as such, I am clear on the policies and procedures laid forth in your responses. Those responses did not, however, answer a couple of key questions for me. Martin Luther King Jr. High School, despite your language around equity and access, has had glaring gaps in what they actually received, and that is why we're having this conversation. I have spoken to some of the students via Zoom, a few teachers who can clearly delineate where those gaps are and would go further to show evidence of requests on behalf of the school that were either brushed aside or completely ignored. I am not disputing that there's a process of equity being utilized by the School District of Philadelphia. What I am disputing, based on evidence in my possession, is that equity is happening in that building. And as they continue to not speak to me from the school district level, I'm going to start putting out the evidence that has been sent my way without compromising the people who are sending it to me. Because we want to, if we can't come to the table and say, you know, this is where we're going wrong, we need to get some stuff done, how can we support and help, then we're going to have to figure out another way. I said, I'm also clear that you are doing your job as the communication director and do not fault your protecting the optics of the district. I am going to keep following up with this building and highlighting the inequalities until tangible change takes place that wholly benefit the students, families, and the educators who are there standing in the gap. Where one lives or goes to school should not remove their basic right to a quality education. Thank you for your time. So you know, we keep talking about these things. The students are talking across buildings, you know, and they're calling each other. We tend to think that these neighborhood schools are in like an ocean by themselves. They're calling their friends that are at other schools. The students are trying to leave Martin Luther King by getting their grades up. Like, come on. A neighborhood school should not be a death sentence to the students that live in that neighborhood. And they deserve the same rights as everyone else, right? And so let's just call it what it is. Some of these schools are not given the same kind of attention and services as other schools. And so what do? Do we, you know, put out a couple of key things, or are we in the building now? Because I'm asking questions, and I've heard that the principal has called a few meetings. I'm going to find out if the principal actually showed up to those meetings. People are talking. You cannot tell people they can't talk about what's going on. The teachers that are actually in the gap doing the work are absolutely frustrated about the services that they're not getting in a building where every Martin Luther King Day we show up and we paint and beautiful structure. And, you know, then we treat the people that are inside that structure as if they are not as important as everywhere else. Somebody pick up the phone and call me, because every time I get a call and every time I get a piece of evidence that supports what these people are saying, I am going to highlight it on this radio show until somebody tells me something differently. We've got to do better on behalf of these families and these children. And if we're talking about the fact that there are inequities and we're having all these shootings and these killings, when I talk to the young people, it is heartbreaking to hear them say, we feel forgotten over here. We feel like our lives don't matter. We feel like, you know, when we say to teachers, these are the things that are going on because of COVID, teachers telling them, well, I already got my degree and I can make your life miserable, and failing students arbitrarily, right? Because they know who's holding them accountable, these adults, for the things that are happening to children that are unfair? Who's doing it, right? And so we can't keep talking about reopening schools. What are we reopening to, right? Because before COVID, things were dismal, right, in many of these buildings. And it's not just the Philadelphia School District. It's in quite a few schools as it applies to Black and brown children, right? Because the services are not fair and equitably distributed across the board. And so we have to consistently have arguments and fuss and complain about the fact that our children are not getting into the honors classes, that our children are not getting they're being disciplined punitively, that our children are not being offered access to the things that everybody else would get access to. We have a brand new president of these United States that says we are going to deal with implicit bias, explicit bias, and racism openly in this administration. It'll be interesting to see how the chips fall and where that lands. But I'm telling you, black and brown people, nothing is going to change if nothing changes. And when people do these kinds of things, don't sit in the gap and mumble in a corner. Open your mouths and tell people how you feel to get change that is required on behalf of you and your family and your constituents. Coming up next is Evening Words by Nick Taliaferra. I am Andrea Lawful Sanders. I'll see you when I see you. Goodbye.